Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, which means it's time for yet another Salty Saturday morning, the last Salty Saturday of 2023. And we have got a fantastic panel lined up for you guys today. And I'm very, very excited to introduce them. But we wanted to invite some of our good friends that we've made over the year and from previous years and stuff like that. They've all appeared on the show before. And we're going to do things a little bit different on this Salty Saturday. Basically, I am releasing the reins. I'm letting them roam free and do their own thing for the entirety of the live stream, and it's going to get wild. I'm sure, and we're going to have people jumping in as the stream goes. But first, let me introduce you to those who decided to show up on time this morning. First and foremost, Matt Vader 74. How you doing, buddy?
I'm here, and I have no idea what we're talking about today, and I love it. Chaos will ensue. And yeah, it's gonna be
a ladder.
Yes,
yeah,
chaos rain. Yeah.
Because generally people don't know that we get a page of links and stuff that Matt sends out, and he says, "Here, do your homework," and I'm like homework, yeah, whatever. It's like I'm not interested in that. Nope. It's like, oh, I'll read that one. Okay, let me see. NFTs. No, I'm not gonna watch that one. Crypto. Nope. Stock market earnings from Disney. No, I don't care about that. Bob Iger sucks. Yeah, okay, that's a good one. So that's how we do things around here. So,
and of course, he's here. He's queer. He's our shield against all things intersectional and binary and non-binary and all that good stuff. It's Brian from the Popcat.
Yes, feed me your hate. Hello, everyone. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. And my brother from another mother. A good friend from my author days, Charles at KK, who's also the most knowledgeable person about Game of Thrones you're ever going to meet. And hopefully he will join us when we cover our House of the Dragon stuff this coming year.
Hell yes.
Yes. So how are you doing, Charles?
Good to be here. I'm real excited. It's a great panel. Looking forward to it.
Great. Thanks for being here. And of course, Brett Desovic. Did I get it right this time?
Desovic, but it's fine. I will not take offense to that. That is perfectly fine.
I'm the destroyer of names. I'm terrible at it.
I'm the you don't really realize how many names you've never actually said out loud until you do a job like this. And then you have to go around and I still argue with people about Gal Gadot because I have to send them the link of her saying her own name because they will constantly tell me I'm wrong. I'm like, no, this is her saying her own name. So it's a struggle I understand.
How do you say it?
It's Gadot. Yeah.
The T is hard.
Yeah,
it's definitely hard.
But it's stupid.
It's a hard T.
Oh my god.
I've always thought the T was silent.
Nope, it's not. There's supercuts of her saying her own name. So it's like every time somebody does that, I'm like, here, let me come with the receipts, and then I just send it to her.
Vader more Western. Like she's trying to pronounce it like
Vader. I was in that camp too, where I thought it was silent until I saw her say it.
It's like the second T in my name. The second T is silent, so I get it. Okay, all right.
The second T in Matt.
Yeah.
Matt.
Well, people still get my last name wrong, so I feel your pain, Brett. But thanks for being here. We've become good friends with you guys over at Pop Culture Minefield.
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 Now that one I will take offense to. Now I'm mad.
Pop Culture Crisis.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We have other friends who run Pop Culture Minefield, so it's very easy to get that mistake.
Sure. Okay. I see how it is.
It's true. Indeed. And of course, I'm not going to get this wrong. Film Threat, Chris Gore, the man who put Star Wars on trial, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say about that today. How you doing, Chris?
Doing great. Happy to be here. A little early for me, but I was out late last night, but that's just a Tuesday for me. I don't know. Happy to be here. I watch you guys on Saturday mornings. Very entertaining stuff. And sometimes I'll just sit there and go, I need to throw me in, coach. Throw me in. What are they talking about? And so that prompted me. The last 2 weeks I've been watching, I'm like sending you guys come on, this. So now I'm here and I can spew right here. That's even better. Instead of
I'm going to have to start treating you like Tom Connors Jr. and just send you the link, and so you can show up whenever you feel like it.
Yeah.
But I want to give Chris some big props because I don't know if you guys knew this, but for the holidays, he put out his fantastic documentary, Attack of the Doc, on YouTube for free.
Yes.
So you can now go out there and check it out and watch it for yourself. It's a fantastic, especially if you grew up during that time period of, Attack of the Show and
Yeah.
TV,
I love that, Doug.
like that. Yeah.
I gotta ask you though,
It's really,
Chris,
really
why
good.
isn't it on your channel? Why is it on someone else's channel?
Because that's our distributor. Our distributor is a company called Indie Rights. So they have the
I see.
international rights for the next 3 years, streaming and whatnot. So it's on Tubi for free with commercials, YouTube for free with commercials. I actually own 100% of it's like an 80-20 split, which is fine. And they actually have that channel has way more subscribers than we do. So they've got about 500,000 subscribers. So just to give you the technical reasons. But
Yeah, makes sense.
and then I own 100% of the Blu-ray rights. So if you really want, if you're a true fan,
Steelbook.
yes, the Blu-ray at attackofthedoc.com or the Film Threat shop, you can get it. So
I still think the most impressive thing you did for Christmas, Chris, was give us the Star Wars Yule log. I watched that all day.
That was nice.
Oh, that's okay. That was okay. You know what we're doing? Someone suggested doing New Year's J. So it's just Jay doing nothing on a live stream for probably 30 hours. We're going to start it tomorrow. So if you see Film Threat is live, it's literally just Jay not talking. I'm going to see how
Very
that
good.
one does. So,
And
anyways, I'm
I
happy
want
to be here.
Thank you, Chris. So I want to give the man who can give Odin a run for his money in the beard department, Culture Casino. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm amongst amazing company. I'm looking forward to today's non-homework driven stream, so I'm very excited.
Yes.
And I've experienced wonderful growth. I can attribute most of it to Mr. Kadish's leadership, guidance, and knowledge. And that's not in any form of jest or anything. That's accurate. I appreciate all of his help this year. Thank you, sir.
Yes, and the god of pineapple pizza, the lord of the shelves himself, has decided to grace us with his presence. Odin from OMB Reviews, the All-Father. How you doing, buddy? Are you feeling any better?
I'm feeling so much better than I was the other day. Sorry, I was a little late. Whenever you have baby Thor, 3-year-old, he's just at that toddler age, and so we were playing with it's like this kinetic sand, and he was very happy. And then as soon as we said it's nap time, no! So I just been dealing with that, so that's why I was a little late today, but happy to be here. Always excited to be here on the Salty Saturdays.
Yes, the last Salty Saturday of 2023. It's been quite a year, guys, and I want to get right to this, and I want to lead off with Chris Gore because he had something that he wanted to answer that Matt Bader skirted last week in addition to like what he wanted to talk about. So Chris, the floor is yours.
Well, no, can you actually do the setup and ask that question again? Because I saw Matt squirming.
I don't remember what the question was.
I don't remember it either.
You don't remember the question?
I don't.
It was basically about people in the workplace, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was people in the workplace working for companies and how they're, they want to have a diverse environment, which I think is very good. I think diversity of thought is my favorite kind. But you were somehow nervous.
I'm always nervous because I never know what he's going to ask me.
Right. But no, God, Kadish, you don't remember the question because it's a good setup.
He just drops things on me and he tries to set me up to make me say stupid stuff. And I usually bite. And I think last week I was like, I'm not playing your games this week.
Right.
I just don't feel like it this week. I was kind of in a cranky mood. I didn't have a lot of caffeine. And so
I'm working on that right now.
He wasn't a cranky mood last week.
It was fine.
He's always in a cranky mood.
I say, when is he not in a cranky mood?
So what the hell was the question? I need to know.
I forget what the question was, but you were concerned that you were going to potentially offend the fairer sex, which is women.
Oh,
and you were in fear of that, and I just was like,
I was saying something about how I think they said they're smarter than us.
Oh no, it was the sign you see on the way to work or whatever.
Oh, and the giant diversity, equity, and inclusion sign that I walk by.
I remember that now.
The subtle reprogramming they do every time I
literally
walk
walks by like a diversity feminist sign like every
but you don't understand. I work for I'll just say it. I work for Resort World on the Strip. Okay, it's a Malaysian-owned company by Genting Group. It's owned by a family, and this one guy started the company years ago. When you walk by down the hallway, there's literally a giant mural of this dude's head. It's like you're walking by the great leader of North Korea. Every day I go to work, and you just kind of like, hey, dude, you know. And then right next to that, there's this giant mural that I have a picture of it somewhere. It's of their diversity, equity, and inclusion statement. And it's
just a bunch of like
it's
diverse women.
It's sickening, man. I hate it every time I walk in.
Next time, take your glasses and go like this and see if it says obey or not.
But that combined with the giant great leader's face, that's 13 feet tall. It's really kind of amusing. It's funny. But yeah, I don't know what that has to do with women in the workplace, but
look, I just wanted to say something very non-controversial, which is a simple, like, for example, let's just say this. If you work for a company that makes makeup, makeup that mostly women use, right? You might want to hire a lot of women.
Yeah.
Yes.
You might want to hire even gay men.
Sure.
Right?
Yes. They'll be using it as stylists.
If they wear makeup,
and that's I don't have any problem with that.
No.
If you have, let's say, a company that you package steaks and you send out steaks, you better love meat. You better not be. I don't think you can hire a vegetarian to work at a company that does like Omaha steaks, which are delicious. I have no dog in that fight and nothing in that game. But my whole thing is, if you make Star Wars, you should love Star Wars. You should know Star Wars. You should probably, because it's a boy brand, it should mostly be men making Star Wars behind the scenes, because you're making a product for someone that is you, right? I think maybe if you make children's entertainment, does it help to have children? Maybe.
Or nephews and nieces.
Yeah, exactly. Nephews, nieces. You have children in your life, whether you're a parent or you have kids in extended family. And the problem I think that I see is a lot of people that just have corporate degrees, which are nonsense, without any experience. Like, for example, give you a big example, recent one, Bud Light. The woman who was the head of marketing clearly was not the target demographic. Why would you hire her? You hire someone who loves the thing. Now, how did I I don't think that I'm saying anything radical, and I don't think it's sexist or whatever. If you make a product and you're trying to sell it, you need to love it. Love it. I learned this when I was a kid. One of my first jobs, aside from working at a video store when I was way too young, because I lied about my age. I was 16. I said I was over 18, and they let me work there because they carried porn. Right?
I did the same thing. I lied about my age to work at Kinko's.
This is back in the
my
day.
dad's social security number and everything.
You could get away with it back then.
Yeah.
They don't check. They don't care. Whatever. That was in the long time ago in the 80s. Anyways, one of my jobs there was to also record things like weddings and business conferences. I recorded a business conference. I never forgot it. It was a sales conference, a bunch of salespeople learning about sales. And the thing that they stressed was, you can't sell something you don't understand, and you can't sell something you don't love. And the problem is, when you look at Lucasfilm, and I asked a friend of mine before The Force Awakens came out, when we were all optimistic about, wow, it's Disney, they got the money, they got the right people in place, they're bringing back the original cast, it's going to be great. And I asked my friend who has done work with Lucasfilm, his particular area was, he is a DVD producer, has produced some of the biggest special edition DVDs. He did a lot of work at Skywalker Ranch with, you can go there, you can mix sound for your movie if you can afford it. You can go to Skywalker Ranch. It's like a post house in some respects. So I've only been there. I've been there a couple times, actually, just when I was in the video game industry in the 90s. I asked him, I said, how do you think Star Wars is going to be? So excited. I've seen that first teaser trailer. I'm pumped. I'm excited. He goes, I don't think with the people they have running it, they're going to make any good films. And I couldn't believe it. This is like in 2015 before the movies came out. I'm like, what are you talking about? Look at what we've seen. They got JJ, who did that first Star Trek movie was pretty entertaining. It was more Star Wars than Star Trek.
Yeah.
But he was of the opinion that the type of culture that was there, that the corporate culture that was created, nothing good was going to come of it. And now we're at the point where Hollywood can't even make they can't even make movies cheap, right?
No.
Every tentpole movie is $200-300 million on Marvels. When you're looking at other countries,
Godzilla -1.
Yep.
Yes, Godzilla -1, under 15 million. I've seen it 4 times in a theater. That's the most I've seen a movie in a theater this year. And the more, and I have a screener copy, so I've watched it twice at home. It's chef's kiss. It's fantastic. Can't wait for the 4K. I'll see it again in theaters before it leaves.
And to add to what you're saying, Chris, it's almost kind of like when you saw Daisy Ridley and John Boyega right when the trailer debuted, and they were like so happy and they're so excited.
Yeah.
And then the press tour for Rise of Skywalker, they're just like, I'm over it. I want it.
Yeah, I'm over.
That's how the fans were. That's how the fans
and one
were.
of the problems is Disney had a chance to corner markets from both of the genders, right? They have their princess movies, which they could have been used to make movies for women, and then you have because they wanted the male demographic. They didn't have the male demographic. Why would he buy Star Wars and Marvel? Why would he spend all the money on that? Because all Bob Iger knows how to do is buy IP, but he's not buying the IP and actually promoting it to the people that would want to spend the money on it because they're constantly searching for the phantom demographic. Comics has done the same thing. They've been sold this idea that there's this untapped market of people that are going to come out and buy their products, but we know that they don't spend money. We don't, the people that they're talking about, all of the retweets on Twitter are not going to translate to sales. No. And they've learned that the hard way.
And I can tell you from experience, like having worked at the Mouse, that was a big thing for them. Like back in like 2008, 2009, they really wanted to market to boys. And this was like right before they bought Marvel and some of the other brands. But in kind of going to your point, Chris, and going to your point, Brett, the biggest problem is that they keep neglecting or even demonizing their existing demographic that is like was already made for them, already tailor-made for those brands, for those IPs. And because of their gross mismanagement of the Star Wars brand, it's a dead brand now. It's a dead franchise.
Yes.
Even the one glimmer of hope that they had with The Mandalorian, I'm not going to swear, crapped the bed. They crapped the bed on that one. And now no one cares about that. And it's sad, like Star Wars, which probably was a huge influence for me in terms of science fiction. It's just like, I'm not interested in it anymore. It's just like, I don't care what they do. And that's so many people, particularly old fans and even just new fans. Like the fans they're trying to bring in, they're trying, like you said, Brett, they're marketing to a demographic that doesn't exist and a demographic that would never be interested in that. And it's just like, they've done this repeatedly. They did it with the Marvel, the MCU. Now look where that is. That thing's on it's on, life support right now because of this stupidity. All right. Sorry.
The marketing people that don't buy merch either.
I think the reason that we continue to, this topic comes back. I mean, Alan Ing on Film Thread always bugs me. Everything comes back to Star Wars. I feel like our conversations and a lot of podcasts, especially group ones, it's a form of group therapy from the standpoint of we saw the original trilogy and we wanted to see the continuing adventures of Han, Luke, and Leia, and we never got it. We never got it in movie form. And the buildup in our heads of, I'm of a different age. I saw Star Wars, the original Star Wars movie when I was about 11 years old. I was a kid. I couldn't believe it. Oh my God, this is like unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. Changed my life. That's a very common story, right? Yeah. Like change it for a lot of people. A lot of people, maybe their first experience was Return of the Jedi, whatever. It's a beautiful trilogy. Not without flaws, but
of course,
those first 2 movies are exceptional. We never got that ever. And the fact that this franchise was purchased by a soulless corporation that has now devolved. I'm going to send a meme that I think is going to put it all into perspective. Matt, I'll send it to you. I saw this the other day and I was like, oh my God, this encapsulates everything. If you could share screen with this, you could share screen with this. This is where we are right now. I just sent it to you over Twitter.
Oh, you're Twitter.
Sorry about that. Yeah, if you go to Twitter, I just sent you a meme that I cribbed that's been making the rounds. And I think that this is where we are and this is why you don't care. But I think that, this was a tweet of mine that went viral. All I said was one of the biggest mistakes in cinema history was Disney buying Marvel and Star Wars and turning them into girl brands.
Yeah.
Or trying to,
and it doesn't work. It doesn't work because women in their lizard brains, our lizard brains, there are things we can't say, like women love strong men.
Yep.
Men like to look at other strong men, and also romance is something. If you don't have it in your life, you aspire to it. And when that first Star Wars movie came out, and it was devoid of even romantic interest. When Rey friend zones Finn at the end of the movie, and then they sideline him completely because nobody knew what to do with this character. Which, for my money, I thought was the most interesting of the new characters introduced. Because we had never seen that in Star Wars. We've seen the journey of a Jedi. We've never seen the journey of a stormtrooper that goes against the indoctrination and programming to cast away. It's effectively what Luke did at the end of Jedi. He begins his journey there. And they sideline anyways, I'm sorry. Yeah, you should probably read this.
Yeah, I was going to read the meme for everyone.
Look at those tabs. Oh my god!
When you see Disney Star Wars,
that is
exactly
terrifying.
what it is.
I've got anxiety just looking at all those tabs.
Don't tab shame me, okay?
Yeah,
how do you even know what you're looking at?
Clear your cache.
That's too many tabs.
Okay, for the original trilogy, My Heroes won, The Empire has fallen, Luke has passed the tests and redeemed his father, Han and Leia have a budding romance, the New Republic will bring order and peace to the universe. And then for the sequel trilogy, Luke failed as a Jedi and teacher, Han and Leia divorced, their son became a Sith and died, Han and Leia and Luke all died estranged, the New Republic is weak and corrupt, Palpatine's lineage survived and thrived, Finn didn't even get to be a Jedi.
Boom.
Bingo. This is why
they took away the happy ending. They took away the happy ending. They took away the success of the big three. And here's the thing: of course, stuff is going to happen in 30 years. We get that. But the thing is that they basically erased and nullified all of their accomplishments, and they just ran the same or a weaker echo of the same story that we saw in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Well, they rewrote it in their own image, right? CC?
Yeah,
pretty
and
much.
it's a weird thing. Disney has a habit of doing this. They get a tiny little shred of or a taste, I should say, of what they're in pursuit of, a boy audience, right? They did because of Pirates. The first time they did it really was with Tron. But then they reached and grabbed this audience with this Pirates of the Caribbean stuff, right? They grabbed the boys. They had the girls, but they got the boys. And so they're thinking, okay, we need to expand on this boys thing because this is a whole big pile of money over here, and we need to expand and get boys interested in our stuff. We don't want to be just princess properties. And so, as you guys have all mentioned, they went out and they got, Marvel, they got Star Wars, and they let Marvel exist as it was in the direction it was going.
I mean, he was always planning to change it, though, right? I mean, there's many people that have said that that everything that Feige wanted to do was always there. It just took time for it to happen. After
they had to get rid of Pull Motor. But we'll set that aside. But going back to let's say the Star Wars thing, they didn't even let it breathe. They gave you a taste of a storyline that was headed the right direction for a Star Wars tale. Absent, of course, obviously, when we discovered we weren't going to get to see Luke in the first movie and we weren't ever going to see all three of them together and all that other stuff. But they gave you a taste of something, right? A new character in Rey, okay, female bologna sausage. I'm starting to see this regularly. But then they give us this Finn character who I'm thinking, what a great story, because you guys already hit on it. Somebody who casts aside the ideology of this incredibly, corrupt, evil empire and is going to, right the world. And wouldn't it have been wonderful to have Rey and Finn either be two sides of the same coin or allies? Like you could have had, Rey become evil, and you could have had, because of her Palpatine heritage, which we find out later, and you have Finn become the good guy. And I'm thinking this would have been a fabulous story to tell, right? Because you're kind of mixing it up from, Luke's heritage of coming from a desert rock, that is insignificant in the world. And at this point, she becomes the bad person and Finn becomes the good person. I think that would have been a wonderful way to tell it. Or they could have equally been allied and been a great stuff. But that is That is entirely the other direction, as Chris's meme points out. But the whole point is Disney always has tried to go after the boys when they get just this little taste of success. And instead, you get ideologues in positions of power, and you get people replaced like Ike Perlmutter and a couple of others in Marvel, and all of a sudden you're headed off in the wrong direction.
Now, don't get me wrong. Like Perlmutter, there are certain things that, thankfully, he was overruled. Like I don't think he wanted Black Widow in the Avengers, so thankfully he got overruled on that. But I think in terms of keeping the cost down, keeping certain things at bay, I'm like, in hindsight, you're just like, okay, that's not the worst idea. But I think one of the biggest problems, going back to kind of what we're talking about, one of the biggest problems with Hollywood, branched off what you're talking about, Chris, is these executives, these bean counters, without a single creative drop in their body, they have such contempt for the audience. And that's where it comes from. And it really became more mask off after Ghostbusters 2016. And it became a much more common thread that if a movie, people have genuine problems, it's not like, and don't get me wrong, there are bigots out there, there are misogynists who do have problems because of that. But when people have genuine critiques for a film, they label that, they wield that as a cudgel, saying, oh, you don't like it because you're that. Or if you don't go see this movie, you're a racist. If you don't see this, then you're a homophobe. And it's just like, that's a huge turnoff to people. And so, okay, it's like, fine, screw you. We're not going to see your movie. And now they're paying the price for the seeds that they've been planting for almost a decade. You know what? And it serves them right. So,
I got to say something. Guys, real quick, I just want to say, I don't watch gay porn. I don't think that makes me a homophobe. It means I don't watch gay porn. Why would I watch gay? I don't watch it.
You're insulting Brian right now, Chris.
A little bit of gay porn. I mean,
all right. What if the porn we do watch has a lot of D in it? Is that?
Well, I mean, it's not technically gay, but there is a lot more penises.
What are we doing here? I don't know. Odin's here. I'm gonna try.
All right, hold on. Before we get demonetized, I'm gonna jump in here. Okay.
Look at Odin. He's like every
Chris. Yeah.
Chris moved away from this chat. Gosh.
So Chris, I found
that
the
escalated.
I found the question that I asked Vader.
So what is it?
Go to this.
No.
Look at my
All
face.
right, so this was in response to the Film Threat article about the John Lasseter situation.
Right.
And so I'm going to play this for you guys so you can hear the question and Matt's reaction to it. Yeah, Matt Vader, it was kind of interesting because John Lasseter was so instrumental to the success of Pixar. Like he was really the creative vision behind all of their hits. He's the one who helped them redefine what animation was and what family entertainment was. And that was one of the reasons why Disney decided to acquire them from Apple, or Steve Jobs, I should say. And it was under Lasseter's reign that Pixar started off their tenure with Disney really well. But by the time he got Me Too'd, there's literally an excerpt in this article that talks about how one of the female creatives that Lasseter often gave a hard time because her ideas weren't very good, basically said, "Can we now get a woman running things in here?" And I think it was Chrissy Mayer or that Star Wars girl who basically said, all these women who are now running things into the ground have proven women shouldn't be in charge of stuff. And I know that for us, individual cases, there are very competent and talented women out there, but by and large, this idea of women being in power just because they're women has what's your take on how well they've been doing, especially when it comes to Pixar and Marvel and other Disney properties?
Okay, that was what I wanted to respond to. Is look, I don't care who's in charge. You better love and understand what you're selling. You better live it 24/7. And John Lasseter, if you read the article on Film Thread, his office is like a toy store. At the time at Pixar, it was just filled with stuff. Why? He loved it. He knew about it. He could tell you about cootie toys. No one knows what that is. I know he knows what that is. And the point is, if you're going to be in charge, Kathleen Kennedy was asked once about what she loves about Star Wars. She never even answered the question. She treated it like a property.
It was also remember when she said when they were comparing Star Wars to Marvel, and she said, we don't have any source material to pull from, and everyone's like, what?
She literally doesn't understand what she has or what she's been put in charge of. George made a terrible choice in entrusting her, made a terrible choice, and he got thrown under the bus. And it's funny because I think we're going to look back on the prequels with fondness. I think we already do that now. Like I mean, it's interesting that the prequels is about creeping authoritarianism that comes in slowly, not with an act or a black swan, but with it just sort of creeps in and then suddenly it's there, like without you noticing it, right? Yep. Maybe a warning, who knows? But and then the sequels are not going to age well. I hated The Force Awakens. I couldn't believe my friends liked it. They're like, oh my God, Star Wars is back. It was so fun. Han Solo's son murdered him. I don't think there's redemption from that. No, I don't know how you tell a story that makes that redeemable.
He kissed Rey.
But I think the big thing too is that there was a nostalgia kick of just seeing Star Wars on film, and that's the thing. Yeah. In hindsight, at the time, it was fun to watch. But when you go through the trilogy, all the problems. A lot of people say, "Oh, it was the Last Jedi that broke." No, it all started with The Force Awakens.
Bingo.
Like even though Ruin Johnson ruined the series with his crappy movie, but it all started there. All the issues started with that film.
The other thing is, I sent you a video, Matt. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, guys, we need to move on. I got some super chats we're going to get to, and then we're going to get to some other people.
Organization. I want to say this really quick.
I thought this was the free range stream. Huh?
Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah.
Can't be.
What the hell, Matt?
Go ahead. Do the super chats. That's fine.
All right. Mexican Iron Man, member for 10 months. I'm out with mom off island and just wanted to say thank you for a great year of entertainment. Salty Nerd Podcast is Powerhouse. Happy New Year. Then we have Shane H. Wilder for $5. Happy New Year, you nerds. Just don't spell Brett with one T or call him bread. He tends to turn green and smash things. LOL.
They love to always spell my name wrong because as far as I'm concerned, Brett with one T isn't a real thing. It's just weird.
Agreed.
Yeah, like Brett Cooper.
Yes.
The Joker's Voice, member for 10 months. Hail SMP panel and chat. Happy New Year. And then another one for $10 from the Joker's Voice. The final Salty Saturday of 2023. Popcast, you guys rock. OMB, you sexy bearded beast. Culture and Chris Gore, some of the best. Vader, amazing. Kadish, never referring to you by Mr. Hashtag keep talking. And we got Eric Winberg for $2. Head spinning in Hollywood now. Thanks, Chris. We have Cyberhunk 2069 for $199. Chris is right. Petco should hire cats and dogs.
Well, wait. Put a pin in that for a second. I want to respond to that. You should love animals if you work at Petco. You should know animals. Right. You should be a pet owner. I think this is such a simple thing. Yep. How is this radical? Yep. If you make products for women, probably hire women.
This is true because what happened, first of all, you were talking about budgets, right? Barbie cost $100 million to make and made $1 billion. It was the highest grossing movie of the year. But also when we were covering that movie, there was all these fluff pieces about the women who made it going really deep into the lore of the character and everything that they're wearing. Why does that work for women? Because they care about it, because they want to put the time in to making it right. As divisive as it may have been for us here, for the target demographic, which is funny because everything we've said here about how they're trying to court men, right? Well, they're not doing anything for women either. No, they're trying to make male movies with women characters, which doesn't resonate with women. Bingo. It's stupid.
So everybody that works at Petco should have a dog, a cat, and some kind of creature that lives in some kind of glass enclosure.
Correct. Look, I guarantee if I'm a manager at Petco, I'm hiring only people who love animals.
Yeah.
I don't understand how is this a radical philosophy? And also, if you're making products for boys, you probably should be a man. So you have been a boy. You're in touch with your inner child.
Yeah, you don't hire the avid hunter.
Or you push for the boys to become girls.
Here's another thing too, and this is something that actually really bothered me. An example of what you guys are saying is kind of like what's happened at GQ. They have this thing called Man of the Year. So instead of putting an actual man on the cover, they put Kim Kardashian. And it's just like, dude, you have women's spaces. You have all this stuff that is catered towards women. You have the power of women variety.
Charles, men are winning Women of the Year awards. Yeah. So it's just,
they've actually been doing that. They've actually been doing that at GQ for quite a few years.
And it's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke. Yeah. It's like you don't have to. You have your female spaces, and this is not me saying you have to segregate everything again, but it's just like you have your strictly female spaces. it is not misogynistic to have strictly stuff that are just for men when it comes to magazines, and they don't get that. And it's just the same thing for movies as well.
Wasn't the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue this year a dude?
And Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner won Woman of the Year one year.
There's a Jeff Dye bit where he talks about it's not sexist. He goes, look, when all of you came to this comedy show here tonight, you hired a woman babysitter, not because you're sexist, but because you're not dumb.
That's right.
No dudes guys, are watching my kids.
Yeah, guys, real quick. No Money G for $20.
Nice.
Happy New Year to all the nerds. I'm looking forward to everyone on the panel fixing Hollywood for 2024 and beyond. And then another $20 from Bob Dorsey, Salty Saturday Superstar. I disagree, gentlemen. Coupled with ESG and other nefarious things, they think culture must change to their liking, and they spend copious amounts to make it happen. As far as failing, see car, airplane, or theater bailouts. Makes a good point. Cyberhunk 2069 for another $4.99. Star Wars fans are like Muslims who had to sit through a crappy Let's Draw Muhammad contest. Woke infidels defiled our heroes and our myths. And then we got Lover of Green for $20. I saw a gaming YouTuber boasting that he got the coof during Christmas. Below his post, his sub said the same thing. What is it with people bragging about getting the coof? After 4 years of virtue signaling, you'd think they'd get tired of it. They never get tired of virtue signaling.
No, they never.
52 movies a year, a member for 7 months. All major corporations hire people who love bonuses. That's what movies are made by now.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Let me just respond to that real quick. And Chris Nolan and other people have talked about this. No one in the movie industry now in Hollywood even understands movies, cinema. The only reason that Star Wars got made is because a guy at 20th Century Fox at the time named Alan Ladd Jr. understood movies. He hired people like William Friedkin, to make The Exorcist, The Omen. He would give minor notes, but he understood film. And the 1970s was a revolutionary time in cinema where basically Hollywood by the late 60s, early 70s gave up. It was this period where they were making things that no one went to see. Terrible movies that were so out of touch, like big budget musicals that bombed. Study that era in film history. You'll see that like Hollywood was so out of touch. So they came in these guys like Spielberg, who was a kid. I mean, Lucas and Spielberg were in their freaking 20s, right? And they're like, I don't know. We just want to make something that we want to see. And to me, the enthusiasm, it's a weird thing. This is a bizarre reference. I'm going to throw it out here. There's a little documentary that it's on the standard def edition of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which I still have. It's on that disc, but it's also on YouTube for free. It's a documentary called The Beginning. What is this documentary? There's no swelling Star Wars Force theme music in the background. It's Errol Morris style documentary, fly on the wall, watching George Lucas make The Phantom Menace. There's a scene in it that, let me just point out, there's a scene in it where Steven Spielberg visits the set of The Phantom Menace and he's gushing. He's so excited. And George Lucas is like, check these out. These are the battle droids. They're like the stormtrooper for this trilogy. Like, oh my God, it's so cool. And it's, watch the two of them in their energy.
Nerding out.
Nerds freaking out about how cool this shit is. He made like there's physical battle droids and he's like telling them they're visiting like the physical set. I mean, Episode 1 had the most practical effects and real sets of the prequel trilogy. Take that scene. Does anyone working at Lucasfilm feel like that now? I'm telling you, I know from the inside that people, they're just corporate. They come in, and that friend of mine who I spoke about earlier, who told me he didn't think stuff was going to do well. He talked to a woman who had just been hired in some position, some middle management bloat, which is why Hollywood can't make movies inexpensively anymore.
Yeah.
Who basically said, well, I got hired at Lucasfilm. I guess I should watch all the Star Wars movies now.
Oh, good Lord.
Literally, they hired someone who had not seen the films. George Lucas surrounded himself with people who were just as passionate. People like Douglas Chang. Okay. You may or may not know that name, Douglas Chang, but you've seen his work. He's a designer he designed some of the coolest things that were in the prequel trilogy. So look up Douglas Chang. Really amazing guy. And there's video footage of him, BTS stuff. of him and Lucas just talking. It's nerds talking to other nerds about cool shit, not unlike this panel right here. What's currently in place in Hollywood is Hollywood has become overly corporatized.
Yes.
They care more about all of the DEI BS or the other grifts that are in Hollywood. What are the grifts? Let's see. There's a COVID compliance officer you have to have on the set of a film.
Made Mission Impossible the most expensive movie ever made this year, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's I forget. There's an intimacy coordinator. You know about that as a job?
And you know what? In certain instances, that's actually necessary, given some of the stuff that's coming out.
Right, exactly.
But it's still
another thing you got to do.
It's HR. It's not there. They act like they're there to protect the actors, but they're there to protect the studio from liability.
You basically have the takeover of Hollywood by people who work in HR departments. I despise people who work in HR departments.
Yep.
They don't care about you. There's nothing human about human resources. The HR person's job is to protect the corporation from lawsuits. That's it. It has nothing to do with anything about you, your vacation, whether you deserve a raise, whatever. HR departments fucking suck. I have worked at companies. I worked at G4, which was Universal Comcast. Okay. I've worked for LFP, which we jokingly called low fucking pay. That was one of the most non-corporate environments I worked at. That was Larry Flint Publications. Film Threat was purchased by him in the 90s. Long story. I worked for companies. I've always had my own side gig of doing something else aside from working for a company because I despise it. I despise it. I will never work for a company that has an HR department. And let me just say proudly, Film Threat is me, Alan, more people behind the scenes, and 30 writers from all over the world. We do not have an HR department. F that. And it's the corporate. It's the everything becoming so corporate that nothing can get done efficiently. Yeah. China in 10 years can build high-speed rail connecting this giant country. We can't build high-speed rail to Bakersfield in California after spending $1 billion. We are effed. We are effed with overregulation. This is why I believe in independent film. Somebody is going to, because there are no rules. There are no rules. AI, there are no rules for independent filmmakers. They can just use AI. They can use AI to make the next Star Wars or whatever it is. And Hollywood is overregulated itself. It doesn't matter. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's out. AI exists. It's a tool. I don't think it's going to obsolete certain jobs. Rather than using Photoshop, you're using AI. You still need it in the hands of an artist. You need an artist. I can't do stuff with AI.
Completely agree.
I can't do stuff with AI. I don't have that CGI brain, but a computer artist that now has AI as a tool, I think we're going to see great things, but it's going to come from independent filmmakers. So,
and Chris, I wanted to add something, Chris. One of the changes was that they removed the Hays Code in 1968. Yes, and replaced it with Parental Advisory Ratings Code. So that was one of the things that changed in the 60s. That's why they were freed from a lot of the restrictions that were previously in place for movies.
Right, and one of there's a really good documentary about that. It's called Skin, A History of Nudity in the Movies. Look it up, Skin, that goes through all the legal. I mean, look, there is nudity in the film, but it talks about like certain like instances of nudity. There were tons of nudity in films from the black and white era in the 20s and 30s. It existed, but yes, Hays Code came in, changed television, changed a lot of things, and it's very interesting to look at that history. And one of the only Hollywood films rated X was a movie called Midnight Cowboy. Some of you may or may not remember, was rated X at the time that it came out because it's about a gay hustler, right? John, I mean, you've seen it. John,
I will say, Code era films are some of the best films that were ever made. So I think there is something to that. You know,
they had to learn to work
it's also
around
good for parents too. For parents, right? Like G-rated, PG. I think it's in the end, and I've dealt with the MPAA because I had my film. My Big Fat Independent Movie in 2005 had to be rated. I dealt with them. They're actually very nice, but they're predisposed to like big studios. They don't let indies off the hook on a lot of things.
Hey guys, I'm gonna jump in here real quick. We got two more super chats before we move on. Art to the Icky for 1999. congratulations on all the success Salty Nerd Podcast has had this past year and launching the studio, an amazing panel to end out the year. I love Mr. Gore's theory that the prequels were a warning to the BS we're experiencing 20 years later. And we also have John Burns for $2.79 Canadian.
Oh, no.
We should use AI in news shows. I do want to.
How do you know they're not already?
The difference?
They are already doing it.
They're already doing it with articles and writing. That's been going on for a while now. Sports Illustrated got busted writing tons of articles this year with not just fake article or with not just sourced AI articles, but the author wasn't even a real person. It was just a pen name given to the authorship.
And
that's what I did with my last review on Criticless. I just made AI write it.
Yeah, AP's been doing it now AP's been doing it now for several years, and in all their sports coverage, they all the box scores and everything, they generate AI articles from the box scores. So, folks, it's being done already.
Sorry, go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry, Matt.
Yeah, guys. So we're gonna get to other super chats as they come in between everyone's topics, but I want to thank Chris for his passionate rants. It's always a pleasure to hear him. But I understand
you derail every show I'm on. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I understand that you're going over to EFAP, so you're not going to be with us for the full 2 hours. But thank you so much for being here.
Did you say EFAP?
Yes,
EFAP. Every frame of pause. Yes.
I have.
Okay.
I have. Mahler's been inviting me like all year. I always say no, and I'm like, I'm fine. I'll do it. I'll do it.
Tell Mahler and the boys to like start an hour later next time.
I know. I didn't realize he was like
rude.
British time. I'm like, what is that? GMT. I don't understand.
Cool.
But
Chris, we'll see you in 16 hours, dude.
16 hours.
Yeah, because that's how long the EFAP stream lasts. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'll definitely peace out before that. But I want one last thing. I was watching you guys a couple weeks ago, and there's a video that I did that's on the Film Threat YouTube channel called Franchise Forecast. It's a 5-minute video that I didn't know what I was doing with my YouTube channel, but this was like after The Last Jedi and Solo came out, and Solo was fucking god awful. And I was like, why did they need to make that movie? And I put forth a theory. It's a 5-minute video of what I thought they were going to do with The Rise of Skywalker, because like the character of Luke Skywalker, I am a foolish optimist. I have been that my whole life. Even if they, you see like, oh, this movie's going to be terrible. I'm like, maybe it will be. I don't know. I have to see it first. But I've always been an eternal optimist. That's why I really just have always loved Luke Skywalker as a character. And I did this video called Franchise Forecast that when it came out, like Vanity Fair even did an article on it. And all these were sort of like busting on my theory and like, fine, have your own theory. But I was trying to figure out why they had to release Solo. What was the point of Solo? And I came up with what my theory was for what Rise of Skywalker was going to be. I would love for you guys to EFAP it, because you were talking about, I'm like, watch this video I did and then, rip on it, whatever you think. But I think I sent that to you, Matt.
Are you hearing that music?
Go back. It's called Franchise.
Who's playing it? Who's playing the video?
I'll find it, and then I'm going to watch your stream after. Do you have the video?
Vader sent me the link. I don't have it called up. Is somebody watching it?
I'm not.
I have 2 windows open, and it's not in any of them. So
I'm being called on Discord.
Oh,
you're the one who said the Discord over the whole time.
Okay, it wasn't me.
Gosh, gotta be me. Come on, guys.
Chris.
Discord's not open.
That was close.
I gotta run, but
Chris, create a Criticus profile already, man.
I don't want to be on Twitter. I don't want to be on.
It's not social media. I don't want to be on social media.
I don't want another thing I have to.
By the way, someone just messaged you on Discord, by the way. So.
That you can be tracked by. That's another thing.
Yeah, that sound that you were hearing the whole screen.
Criticless. Can I just do nothing? Like, I'm not like my Instagram. I just push stuff to Facebook. I don't go on Facebook anymore. I can't
push stuff to Instagram from Criticless.
Yes.
Okay.
So you're still pushing it to Facebook, basically.
Yes. I hate all of this, but I love all of you. But anyways, okay.
Well, thanks for being on the show.
No. I love it. I watch you guys every Saturday. It's super fun. I like to be in the chat and I like to have my coffee.
When you go over there, can you send Critical Drinker over here? Can we do a trade?
If Drinker's there,
bring him over here. Yes.
Tell him we'll send him a link. We'll
Yes,
we'll
please
swap
do.
you guys out.
All
We'll
right,
trade you a Chris score for a critical drinker.
Go away now.
And then we'll
Go
swap
away
him out
now.
for Mahler.
I'll be back for another. I'll probably rant or say something stupid or something you say on the show, like Matt Vader not answering a very obvious question to me.
Listen,
Like,
when did
I'm
you guys
sorry.
not see when he played that clip that my eyes kind of glassed over because when he starts talking, I hear wah 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 Charlie
like
Brown voice. Because when he asks a question, he can't just ask a question. He has to say he has to give it like a 5-minute long setup. And by the time he's done, I'm done. I'm out. It's just I can't. I don't even know what he's talking about by the end of it. So
all I'm saying is a return to common sense where you know, look, if you get hired at Film Threat, you freaking love movies.
Yeah.
You love movies. We may not all have the same taste. We may not all agree, but you are passionate if you're a writer for Film Threat. I just think that that's such an obvious thing to do. I did video game magazines in the 90s. I never hired anyone who didn't love video games. People had different, I like fighting games. I like adventure games. Fine. I don't care. Your whole world revolves around that. And if it doesn't, don't hire that person. I don't care. You can find someone. I'd rather hire someone who is passionate about the thing and they'll learn stuff on the job. But the over corporatization of everything has killed creativity, and Hollywood hasn't recognized it yet. But people like Christopher Nolan and Scorsese are calling it out, right? Like, people thought Scorsese was a little crazy. Like, what do you mean Marvel movies are garbage? Like, yeah, they're garbage. They're theme park rides. They had a good era. The run is over. It's over. I don't think there's any coming back from Marvel. I don't know, unless they just reboot the whole thing or Deadpool murders the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's the only way to do it. So,
and I have thoughts on that, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I definitely will go back and watch, but thank you so much, gentlemen, for having me. Take care.
Chris. Always a pleasure.
New Year, Chris.
Always a pleasure. Happy New Year.
All right, guys. So I want to throw this over to Brett to have his topic for today. Brett?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So let's do it. What I want to talk about is the fact that, look, there's a lot of negativity going on in these industries. And certainly, if you guys saw the David Ayer tweet that was out viral last week, right, where he talks about how people, they want to hate stuff. And I disagree with that premise. I think that they've bullied and broken a lot of people to the point where they no longer have a filter when it comes to how they interpret these movies. But when you look at certain things, people want to love your properties. They want it to be made right. And people look at the success of Godzilla -1. Look at the success of all of the movies that actually did well this year. You look at now there's not a lot of them, but people want to love stuff, right? Nobody wants to hate. Like, I had a list of 17 movies that I at least liked this year. So I want to talk to you guys about what movies you actually liked this year, not just the stuff that everybody hates. Because I think that a lot of it is that we get put in this box, right? Because a lot of the job is holding these studios and holding these creators to account, right? They say a lot of things, they put out a lot of crap, and we're here to say, look, you can't get away with it. I'm willing to, I go into every movie. I don't care if it's Disney. I don't care what studio makes it. I don't go into something wanting to hate it. I want to love it, right? Yeah. And that does happen most of the time. I had a bunch of them, but like Gran Turismo, I loved Gran Turismo this year. I loved The Killer on Netflix. There was a bunch of them that I really, really enjoyed. And I just want to hear, what did you guys like this year?
I had a rough year with movies. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I sat here and I thought just a couple days ago that there's a good half a dozen top tier flopbuster movies, to steal the term, that I haven't seen yet. I didn't go watch Barbie yet. I haven't seen it. I'm trying to get through Fast 10 right now. It's a chore. It's a chore. Oh my God. It's
awful.
But it's awful. But I'm trying to think. It's like, I know everybody's got Godzilla -1 at the top of their list, and that's fine. It's a cool movie. I think everybody's kind of just seeing a little bit too much there, but that's fine. It's okay. I don't care. But there was one movie that surprised me, and I think that's how I'm going to pick this movie out. And I don't know if it's my number one movie of the year because I haven't been required to make a list, so I didn't make a list. But there's one movie that stands out that I was surprised at how much fun I had at it, and that's that Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
It was super fun. I had no expectations going into this, and as an old school D&D player, who I haven't played since 1992, but I was pleasantly surprised at how much fun that movie was. Because listen, I went into this thing thinking it was going to be a woke piece of trash, and it was.
They were bragging about emasculating men. Before.
Yeah, and I was
that's
like,
what I mean.
Oh,
that's
okay,
that's
this is
a
kind of a
perfect
fun
example.
movie.
That is a perfect example of the audience proving to you that they don't want to go into something and hate it just on principle. They want to love it. They want to be surprised.
Yeah, there was enough stuff in that movie to like make me just think, okay, this is kind of fun, and there's obscure stuff in there, like the mimic, the gelatinous cubes, the little reference from the 80s cartoon, you see that group of kids going through the maze thing at the end, and just a lot of fun little Easter eggs, and and they kept really faithful to the Forgotten Realms world, and I liked it. I thought it was cool. So that would be my movie in that what name me something you like category. So
I love that movie. It was almost at the top of my list. I really love the movie.
Anybody else? What did
I have a list. I'm sharing it actually right now. Now it's not in any particular order yet. I'm still working on it and still fine tuning it. But if Matthew would like to share the screen,
Yes.
So by the way, this is just featuring Critic List again. But I know, right? I freaking love kind of similar, saying like there were like 17 movies that I really indeed liked this year a lot.
Yes.
And I think that like these first 5 especially really just I think mean a lot to me. So Iron Claw is one I saw most recently, and so, as someone who is a wrestling fan, but was a wrestling fan in the 90s, so after the era of the Von Erichs, I actually knew nothing about them. And that is the best way to go into that movie, is know nothing about it, don't do research, because for having that story unfold and of just the tragedy of the family itself, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe.
It's depressing.
It's depressing. But yet it still ends on a positive somehow. Like it still ends almost with that era of hope about it. And so that's why it's so great, is that it's going to beat you down, but it's also not going to leave you like, it's not going to leave you depressed when you're leaving the theater. You're going to say, wow, that was tough, but I feel good, kind of, somehow.
Does the movie prove that Zac Efron should be He-Man?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he kind of looked like him in a lot of ways. And I think someone had mentioned that he was, because isn't he in the process of filming that film? Or is he in?
I don't know if that's him, but like that, I thought they canceled that.
Or the Hogan one.
The Hogan one.
That was Chris
Hemsworth.
Oh,
it's not being made.
Either way, like still, he's so freaking jacked in the movie, and it's just, and also it just shows that he's such a good actor. I'm so glad to see the trajectory he's taken since High School Musical, like because that was his like what his entire career was. And then he started taking some really great independent roles outside of that and was really able, I think, to build up from it. So Iron Claw was great. The Holdovers, this is a film I just watched recently with Paul Giamatti. And it's just one of these films you love watching during the wintertime because it's about students that are kept over the Christmas holiday, whose families essentially either can't have them home. And so it's viewed as this badge of dishonor, saying like, oh, your parents don't love you enough to have you home for the holidays. And so usually it's people who are out of country or have no actual means of getting home themselves. And it's just a really great story and really builds the relationship between the kids in the film, especially like the main kid and Paul Giamatti's character, who's this very rigid teacher. So I connected with it at many levels as a teacher myself. And I was like, oh man, like there's a lot of good stuff in here. I think a lot of people who's ever been a student or been a teacher can really enjoy. Godzilla Minus One is indeed one of the greatest films of the year, no matter what these salty people say.
Yes, I agree with you.
Listen, we didn't say it was a bad movie, Odin.
Yeah, but it's a lot better than your 3.5 stars. I'm just saying,
It's not the greatest thing to ever be put on film.
It's one of the greatest films of this year. Tetris,
and
another
that's not
one.
saying a lot.
That's great. Tetris, a film that unfortunately no one saw. And it's because it's stuck behind Apple TV, and I think that it's something I wish I checked for it earlier. And I was like, man, this film should already be put on Blu-ray because I would buy it. But it's stuck behind it. Dead Reckoning Part 1 was great. Operation Fortune earlier in the year, hilarious.
I still haven't
film.
seen that one. I still need.
Oh,
to
it's
see
great.
That one.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so much fun. It's
I've
exactly.
got 6 of these on my list as well.
Yeah.
So this is good.
is exactly what you want from Guy Ritchie. Suzume technically came out 2021, but American release was 2022. A great anime from the same guy that did Your Name and Weathering with You. This one's also fantastic. Boy and the Heron, new Miyazaki film. John Wick Chapter 4. Nefarious, a film also some people probably didn't see. Probably the most accurate portrayal of possession, because it doesn't do all the spinning head throw up nonsense. It's just a conversation, but it's amazing. Killers of the Flower Moon I actually did enjoy. I know a lot of people didn't like it, and get me, hey, it's a long film. It's a dredge of a film. I understand, but I appreciate the filmmaking process. The Covenant was great. Sound of Freedom was phenomenal. That's another film also very important from the summer. The Creator was fun.
I believe it's on Prime now.
Yeah, I mean, and it's getting like promoted on Prime. Yeah. Sound of Freedom is. Yeah, go ahead.
Covenant was great too. That was another one that I came across because I didn't get a theater release, right? It was just straight to Amazon Prime, right? And
no, I think it got a theater release, actually.
If it got a theater release, it must have been early in the year, right?
Yeah.
So
it was very limited. It was very limited.
Yes.
And the Equalizer 3 was fantastic. Like on location, the whole film looked like they worked on it with a stripped down budget. It was great.
Yes. And I love the location.
And Gran Turismo was probably my favorite movie of the year.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's definitely good for sure.
I'm a sucker for sports movies.
Yeah.
The two best uses of practical cinematography is going to be in Equalizer 3 and Gran Turismo this year. I mean, some of the most beautiful scenery shots, establishing shots, things like that. Equalizer 3 blew my mind. That little Greek island town was a character in the film.
Italy.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
I mentioned that in my review. Yeah. But anyway, that's my list of films that I thought were fantastic.
I need to
see more of those, actually.
Yeah.
Go to criticlist.com to see that list, right?
To be fair, like over here, how you guys talk about Godzilla -1 is how we talk about The Creator, because I love The Creator. And a lot of the people here, they didn't like it on, a lot of them they didn't like a lot of the message. They felt that it was very anti-American and pro-communist. And I was like, bro, I'm just happy to see CGI done on actual location and not done behind awful green and blue screen, especially after seeing Expendables 4, which might have been the worst movie of the year.
I didn't like the last act.
Actually, Dungeons and Dragons was one of the worst movies of the year, but that's.
But this is
so was John Wick 4. So
no, John Wick 4 was a very good film.
I actually didn't like John Wick 4 that much. It was not that good of a film. The action scenes seemed really repetitive. It just got
they were all unique.
No, they weren't, because there was a lot of times he kept doing that same little whatever. He kept doing this one move, like he did it like 3 or 4 times, and I was like, okay, dude.
Hey, spinning's a good trick.
Yeah. But you might have So some of the films I really like Super Mario Brothers. That was way better than I thought it was. Across the Spider-Verse was actually very, very good. I need to see a lot more. That's one thing I'll tell you, just based on the movies I'm seeing here. I liked Oppenheimer. I don't know if it was my favorite film, but I really did like what they were trying to do, and I liked it's like, hey, a serious drama in the theater, like what a concept. But I really, God, what else? There's more stuff. I'll have to look at it because I'm like, God, it's been like a whole year. But I really do need to see more movies. I'll just tell you that.
So I'll chime in here. The best thing I've seen all year, I don't even know if it came out this year, but it's not a movie. It's a TV show. It was Blue-Eyed Samurai on Netflix. That show literally floored me. I think it's the best thing I've watched all year. But the movie that has stuck with me that I keep replaying in my head and thinking about, it's not a movie that I think is the best movie of the year. It's not even a movie I think is very good. But I am obsessed with Rebel Moon. I don't know why.
There you go.
Like I keep thinking about the potential for that movie and how it has fallen so short of what it could be, and I keep fixing it in my brain and like going back and rewatching it, and like I want to do like a video essay about everything wrong with that movie.
Okay, good. I was a little worried for a second. I was like, wow.
No. I don't think it's a good movie. I even said like this is not a movie of the year contender, but the idea that there's like another version of it coming down the pipeline that's going to be completely different.
I really like the part in Rebel Moon where the 2 villagers went to the samurai town and you got 7 samurai dudes to come back to their farm. And then they trained up all the villagers to how to defend themselves from the heathens that were going to come over the hill and take all their crops.
Yeah, Vader. I wanted to ask you because I made you watch the original Seven Samurai by
it's the
Kurosawa.
same movie, bro.
Yeah, but I mean, like, did that change like how you viewed Rebel Moon when you were?
It made Rebel Moon just terrible. I wouldn't have liked Rebel Moon anyway, because I would have said, "Oh, it's a ripoff of John Boy with the booby ship." What's that movie?
That'll Be on the Stars.
That'll Be on the Stars. But now that I saw the Kurosawa film, I was like, "Oh, all things go back to Kurosawa." And he's not even trying to. He's not an homage. He's just flat ripping it off. You know. So it's just.
Rebel Moon
ridiculous.
Proves a lot of Snyder critics right, and it's basically him at his most, basically reverting to all his worst impulses as a filmmaker, and somebody who's just more style over substance, likes the cool big moments that he loves to slow-mo.
He's so frustrating, man, because I like 300. I like Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead's like my top 3 favorite zombie movies of all time.
I never liked 300. That's why. I actually didn't like 300 that much. It was okay. But for me, when I came into the movie, I was expecting like Braveheart level violence, which I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies. But after the 3rd slow-mo battle scene, I was rolling my eyes. I was like, are you serious, dude? What is this crap? So in his hatred of colors.
So here's the thing about Zack Snyder, and like I've always been very critical about Zack Snyder because I don't think he's a good storyteller. And the reason I keep harping on Zack Snyder is because it's frustrating. He's frustrating to me because I want to like him. I think visually he's one of the most brilliant visualists that we have in the current crop of filmmakers out there. But he keeps showing over and over again that he doesn't know how to tell a coherent story. He's a failure as a writer. Yes. And I see so much potential with him where like if he just fucking learned how to write, like he could start making an incredible, like he could be the next Spielberg, right? And so like
he needs to be reined in though. He needs somebody that doesn't get reined in. He needs
that's
to
a problem.
I feel like him more than anything. I'm so critical of him because I want him to be better. Like I want to like him, and I can't say that about pretty much any other filmmaker out there right now. So.
I was watching this one kind of mini documentary yesterday about Zack Snyder. Well, actually it was weird. It seemed like all these YouTubers did these retrospectives on the DCEU like a week ago, but one of them brought up this really good point that one of many reasons why the DCEU was a failure from the start is you chose a guy, Snyder, as your mastermind who's very polarizing even before he did Man of Steel. He has a very specific niche or way that he kind of does films that is not for everyone. You needed a guy like a J.J. Abrams or someone else, or even a Joss Whedon. Well, maybe not a J.J. Abrams, but you need
a Joss.
Yeah. Okay, definitely not anymore.
I'd say like a Mike Flanagan
20 years ago.
But you need somebody whose filmmaking can appeal to more than just a specific niche of audience. And with Snyder, he has his fans, but he also has so many detractors that eventually that filmmaking style was not going to translate into true mainstream success in terms of what Warner Brothers wanted for the DCEU, and we saw that unfold. So
superheroes need to be treated with optimism.
Yes,
and Snyder has none of that. His worst possible impulse is darkness, and he's like the equivalent of like a goth chick in high school trying to like live out his existence that way. And I think that if you're going to be a showrunner or a writer, creative head for one of these comic book franchises, you have to have an optimistic view. It's why Iron Man started off so well, because from so many different places, Favreau knew where he wanted to take this character. He wanted to take him from the heights. This is a kind of a mirror that you could hold up to Robert Downey Jr. personally. You take somebody from the heights, put him at the bottom of the pile, and then have him build himself back up and into a completely different version of themselves, the better version of themselves, while still struggling with all the demons. But that's what superheroes are about. So Favreau, from the very baseline, from the bedrock of this idea, comes what you have to be as a franchise for superheroes. You have to be optimistic. It's why the ultimate Boy Scout is Superman, right? You have the ultimate in the good, right? But you hand that over to Snyder, and what did you get?
Yeah.
So,
literally, a quote from him was literally, "Why aren't these guys killing and having sex with each other?" When he first started reading comics.
Yeah.
That is not a guy, and he admitted this in like 2009. That is not a guy you want running any superhero films.
And just to add on to Culture's point, like the part where it says superhero, people want heroes. They want that virtue, that pureness, that that moral fortitude. And especially like because the world itself is dark. You don't need even more darkness in people who you're supposed to be looking up to. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I was a comic book collector like my entire life. Is because I liked seeing good overcome and
Heroism.
Inspire others. Exactly. Matt Vader 74. So first of all, Brett, thank you so much for that wonderful topic. That was very nice. Yes. And real quick, we got a couple of super chats to get to before we move on. So we have John Burns for Canadian 279. Why Scorsese wrote about blueberry muffins in Casino. That was a great scene in Casino, by the way.
Yeah.
I think that was actually like a real thing that happened that he just like kind of like
probably
put into the movie.
It's like this muffin doesn't have any blueberries. This one does. I want the same amount of blueberries as both muffins.
He's like, do you know how long that'll take? I don't care. I want the blueberry muffins to all be the same.
That's right.
Magnus Toth for $20. Thank you, Magnus. Anyone working in male franchises should have a real passion for it. You shouldn't even be working in science fiction to begin with if you don't get emotional watching the Enterprise leave space dock in Wrath of Khan.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Agreed.
I get emotional when I see the ship in oh gosh,
Picard season 3.
No, oh gosh,
that was actually a good season.
It's the Tim Allen version, Galaxy Quest.
Oh, Galaxy Quest, yes.
I get emotional.
One of the greatest films ever made.
Or even with the first Star Trek movie, it might not be everyone's favorite, but you can at least appreciate what they're trying to do.
Speaking of getting emotional, I figured out this week that I have some kind of switch that makes my eyes well up, and I can't figure out what it is. But Matt could tell you a story last year when we went and watched Maverick, right?
Top Gun Maverick. Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick. At the end of the movie.
Oh yeah.
I was a literal sobbing, weeping, blubbering mess. Like literally, I couldn't catch my breath. Matt and Jude and Alex are walking past me, like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm doing this." Right? It was weird, right?
Matt,
I posted movies.
Oh yeah.
But 2 days ago, just for the heck of it, I bought a new monitor for my computer here at home, and I wanted to just like try it out and put something cool on it. So I pulled up Maverick for the first time since I'd seen it at the theater. I didn't watch it for like the last year, and I push play, and the music starts playing. They do the whole opening scene with the aircraft carrier stuff, and Kenny Loggins is rocking it and all this kind of stuff. And then they switch to Maverick in his hangar with his old P-51, and they show his desk, and there's that picture of Goose and Maverick there. And all of a sudden, I start getting emotional again. And I just don't know what it is. There's something about that movie that makes me get super weirdly emotional. And I don't know.
I had two of those incidences in the same film just a few weeks ago, watching Godzilla -1, where there were 2 points in that film where I was like, okay, I have to figure out how to get control of what's happening right now.
Yeah, what's going on with my face? It's crazy. It's like
it happened. It's happened in several films recently. Things that touch me. That maybe it's my age now. I'm or whatever, but all of a sudden I have this same problem. So I feel you, Matt.
Ironclaw did that for me.
I don't remember Top Gun, the original movie, having that visceral of a effect on me when I was younger.
It's because the climate of the world has changed.
So weird.
Like we're in a different place now. Like just like when we finished that movie, I said, when was the last time you saw a movie end with a love ballad? With like a right? Okay, so I reposted the final credit scene of that movie like a month ago, and I said, this is why I never give up on Hollywood entirely, because when they get it right, they get it really, really right. and I'm not willing to just throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
I can watch the bad movies. I can criticize the bad movies, but you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't allow yourself to be surprised every once in a while.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, real quick, we got a couple more super chats to get through. Shorty Short for 199. The Tubby Dragon in Dungeons and Dragons was the funniest thing. Yes,
Yeah,
the Tubby Dragon, the overweight dragon.
Yeah, it was the only joke that hit in that film.
Fluffy Panda, member for 8 months. Finally, someone with taste on the panel. John Wick 4. Thumbs up, Odin.
Dang right.
I'm with you. But I have taste. I liked it a
it's
lot.
An action film done right.
I liked the video game shot overhead that was continuous for
that was
like
cool.
8 minutes. I lost
because
my
every
mind.
single one of those action sequences had their own unique spin and direction. I love it.
I did also feel like
stolen from Taxi Driver, by the way.
That Extraction 2 got missed out by a lot of people who didn't get to see that, which also had some fantastically done action for a movie that just got dumped on Netflix.
Yeah.
It was missing one key piece for me because I liked the first Extraction, but it was that relationship between him and the kid in the first movie that really they didn't have that same relationship in this one.
You hated the kid in this movie. John Burns, 279 Canadian. Hugh Grant, Oompa Loompa, shortest upper class twit.
That seemed like a troll for him. I didn't see that crappy
yet.
movie. I'm not going to see that movie.
It's not bad. It really isn't bad.
You saw it on purpose? No, I'm sorry.
I told a lot of people, I said, look, I didn't like it, but I understand that there's a lot of families that could have a good time going to see that movie, especially if the kids don't have a connection to the Gene Wilder version.
No.
You know,
pays homage to it.
Might like it, yeah.
And it pays homage to it too. Like it does. Like that's the thing I appreciate. It's not a great film by any means. It's not replacing the other one. But that's, I think, the reason why I'm not going to really hate on it, because it pays homage. Like, it's clearly saying this is the superior movie, and we're going to keep on referencing it, and we're not going to do anything to tear away anything.
The thing, though, is that my question: does it suffer from Pirates 4 and Beyond, where they make Wonka the main character when he shouldn't be the main character?
Oh goodness, no. They actually give you a secondary character as the main character, like everything now.
Okay.
To me, it was honestly, it's the silliest thing, but it was the CGI town square where it's just everything feels so fake and distant now that I couldn't connect with it in a way that I would have, I think, if there had been practical sets there.
Oh yeah,
it just didn't work.
It's not great by any means. It's one of those things where it's fine, and most families, I think, will find it enjoyable. And box office is kind of showing that too.
Yeah. I think that big shot you're talking about, Brett, suffers from the fact that they wanted to make it feel enormous, like one of the big time Broadway musicals turned movie way back when, and they just couldn't pull it off because they were trying to do it in such a small space. I think that's why it feels like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like it would have paid dividends to just go to on location and rent someplace out to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna go from Wonka to Napoleon. John Burns for 279 Canadian. 5+ hour French Napoleon silent movie on YouTube. So,
how do you know it's French?
The cards,
and
right?
Yes.
And finally, Fluffy Panda, Brian's biggest fan, for $5. Also, Rebel Moon suffers from the worn-out trope of the 90-pound skinny pole trying to pretend they're Gina Carano. Reacher, the chick fights are way better.
Oh yes.
Oh
my.
Reacher is another example of something that's unbelievably fantastic right now. And I have criticisms of the most recent episode, but it's been an absolute joy to watch a show that did so well in season 1 just keep on keeping on in season 2.
Nice.
What a concept.
Yeah, I'm waiting for all the episodes to be out before I start watching season 2 because I hate the week-to-week format. But so Brett, thank you.
It's good for content.
Yeah. Thank you for that great topic. I want to throw this to Matt Vader 74 next.
Oh no.
What is your topic for today?
So I didn't even know we had homework until like 2 minutes before, about 2 minutes before we went live today. Because you sent us an email last week and said, hey, we're just going to fly by the seat of our pants. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. So that was it. And then you sent us another email last night or whenever saying, hey, we want everybody to pick a topic, but I haven't picked a topic. But I do have one thing I would like to talk about that kind of came to me just a few minutes ago, a little while ago. And yesterday I'm doing my thing and I'm watching my friends Brian and Shane go through their top 10 list on their show. And while Shane's list, listen, you and me both, we agree on many, many things. and Shane's list is kind of whack. Okay,
Yeah, kind of whack. Yeah.
It's kind of whack. But then after that wackiness, you had to end this thing with stating your number one movie of 2023, Brian. And I don't know if I can continue being your friend. I don't know. I don't know if I can stop sending. Might have to stop sending you love letters at 1:00 in the morning.
As long as I keep getting feed pics, bro, I'm cool with it.
But I need you to just please try to convince me why and explain your rationale for making The Flash your favorite movie of 2023.
I'll tell you.
I can't grasp this.
Let me tell you why. First off, I wanted it to be Dungeons and Dragons, but Shane had to go and inject Dungeons and Dragons as 2 or 3 in his list, which means that it would totally cuck my number one, so I couldn't do D&D. That's the problem with doing a show with another person where you have different, subjective ideas. So, but I wanted it to be D&D. As an aside, I was like, okay, I need something that I thoroughly enjoyed that is not going to make it anywhere on Shane's list. I knew for a fact that it wouldn't be anywhere on his list, but I wanted it to be something I was thoroughly entertained by, that I can reveal at the very end of the show that wouldn't be something we had just talked about. And so that specifically is why I had to make it number one, because it was the only movie that wouldn't be anywhere near his top 10.
So it's a spite pick.
A little bit, yeah.
I can respect that a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, because I knew he was going to do Godzilla -1. And look, I liked Godzilla -1. I liked it, but it's not my number one movie, that's for sure. It wasn't even...
with the Flashes, yeah.
It wasn't in English. I can't understand Japanese. Or
Can you not read?
Sorry,
Can you
guys.
not read?
I don't want to read. No,
Subtitles.
I'm sorry, Odin. I don't go to the movies to fucking read a book.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm with you. I'm totally with you.
Sorry. I go to the movies to watch movies. I don't want to read.
I'll say this about the Flash. I'll say this about the Flash. That it wasn't a good movie, but I felt like for as bad of a person as Ezra Miller clearly is, I felt like he managed to pull more of an actual emotional ending out of the movie than anything in Aquaman 2.
100%.
Right? You actually felt like there was a connection there with the mom. Right?
Yeah,
at least a little bit. It got bogged down in the middle, and of course, it has all this baggage from
horrible CGI.
The horrible. But I mean, that's the case du jour these days. It's almost all bad CGI.
Right? No, there's a lot of baggage with this movie, but no, you're totally right, bro. A ton of emotional resonance with his mom. He played off of his younger, even crazier self somehow in a way that was really, I thought, really entertaining. I don't like Ezra Miller at all. I don't agree with his life choices. I think that the guy probably belongs in prison.
Yes, he does.
But dude, but he did a really good job playing off himself in that movie. And I'm sorry, my first superhero movie was Michael Keaton's Batman, and I got to see Michael Keaton's Batman one last time. Okay, so yes, there's a little bit of member berries, a little bit of nostalgia bait going on. I don't care, and I also got to finally see Nicolas Cage, even though it's CGI, with that stupid long hair. After watching that documentary from the late great John Schnepp for years, I finally got to see.
I have some baby spoons upstairs. Do I need to baby feed you some more content?
The problem.
I don't want to read. Flash.
But the problem with that cameo,
there's good to it. There's good to it. It's not all bad.
But you know what the problem with that cameo with Nick Cage, unless you're in the know or you saw that documentary or you heard Kevin Smith, whatever
100%
about it, everyone probably normies were just like, what the hell?
Yeah. Norman's, yeah.
What is that?
Dude, we were watching the movie, and my wife has no idea about any of that, dude. Even though I have that documentary on my wall, I've had it for years. It's signed by John. I remember we're watching the theater, and she's like, "Why is Nicolas Cage Superman?" And she's like, "And why does he have long hair? I don't. What's up with the spider?" I'm like, "You don't get it."
Oh my god, the spiders! Yes, that's what makes it even more hilarious. Is John Peters' obsession with spiders?
Yeah. It's funny. John Peters goes on to create Wild Wild West with a giant mechanical spider. It's like, no, but look, guys, I understand the movie's not a good movie, but there was so much to it that I thoroughly enjoyed. And I can be this fart sniffing guy and talk about, no offense, Odin, how great Killers of the Flower Boring Moon was. But bottom line is, I go to the movies to be entertained. I don't go to the movies to read. I don't go to the movies to even honestly.
Brother.
I don't want to sit there for 4 hours. I'm sorry. I'm a cretin. I don't want to go to the movies for 4 hours and watch Leonardo DiCaprio make constipated faces at his dying wife.
Oh my God!
I don't care. I don't care. I want something entertaining.
That's actually a great description. That's actually a great description.
That's one of the reasons why I didn't see that movie, because it's just like, okay, almost 4 hours of this.
I mean, I liked it, but that's a great description.
But here's like that's the thing. Like, I ask the question a lot. I'm like, what do people like? Because when you put these things out there on the internet, I love it. It's like, what do people hate more? When you like something you're supposed to hate, or when you hate something you're supposed to like, right? Because there was a movie that came out this year called Hypnotic that I thought was perfectly fine way to spend an hour and 40 minutes. But I have to constantly say, like, is it a good movie? No. Is it a movie I liked? Yes. And that's the problem these days.
Bingo.
People aren't willing to accept the subjectivity of it all. I'm like, look, somebody mentioned Fast X earlier. I'm like, did it make any sense? Nope. Did I have a perfectly good time at the theater? Yes, I did.
Great time.
You did what you did?
It is
Yes, I did.
objectively a bad movie.
They sent me that movie, and I did not have fun with it.
I did not have any fun with that.
I laughed so hard when the camera pans on his wedding picture, and he's wearing a wife beater, bro. I was laughing so hard. I was dying.
And he did that, and he probably did that unironically. It was not a joke.
And that's what made it funny is that you know that Vin Diesel thought that was cool.
Yes.
In his mind, that's awesome.
In his mind, that's awesome. That's exactly what
I loved
Dom would do.
Cocaine Bear. I loved Cocaine Bear. I had a great time at Cocaine Bear.
I did too. I like. Yeah, you see, I'm sorry.
That was this year. Wow.
I'm not like the the judge at the Oscars trying to figure out what the best possible performance was. I want to have a good time.
You want
sometimes my good
Are you saying I don't want to have a good time? Is that what you're trying to say?
You're so self-serious.
Sometimes my good time also, it makes it an objectively good movie. But sometimes my good time is, I know it's not great, but it's still fun. And there's a subjectivity to that.
That's fair. And that's fair. And that's fair.
You know, it was a great time. That film right there, Godzilla -1, phenomenal time.
You know, it's a good movie. Is it number one? I don't think it's number one. I think it's minus
It's also
one.
funny that like two of the actors that got the most hate this year, I liked both of them. I didn't like The Flash, but I thought Ezra Miller was fine in The Flash. I also didn't hate the Hunger Games movie, and it had Rachel Zegler, who's just everybody hates right now.
Yeah,
that's funny because I said in my review of that film that it was better than it deserved to be.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And I was like, and here's what you call emotional maturity, not only on the writer's part, but also on the director's part, because those two people were the same thing for that film. They realized that their audience had aged up 20 years.
Yeah,
and they needed to appeal to a different audience. When
they still needed to end it after the games ended.
I guess I'm gonna have to watch
the second half.
But also, I was like, when we're watching it, I'm like, oh my god, it's a movie that's not making a joke every 5 minutes. This is okay. I can do this right now, right? After a year of superhero movies that have to make a joke every 5 minutes, I'm fine with a movie with a little bit of singing. Which, oddly enough, she was fine in that movie.
She can sing.
Important. She can sing. She's a fantastic singer, and people need to be able to be mature enough to go into
she wasn't
movie.
horrible.
Like, just because she is a horrible person, my job isn't to judge the person she is while I'm reviewing this movie. That's not the point.
Real quick before we get to super chats, Matt Vader, did you want to end this segment?
Oh, I was just gonna say my favorite parts of 2023 were watching Odin's shelf fall down and him eating pizza. So
those were the highlights.
I hate you so much.
But you need to eat a piece of
the two worst days of my life.
But they were highlights of the year for everybody on the internet.
I know. Except for the ones who are like, you didn't eat enough pieces.
You need to eat more of that pizza.
Real quick, William Forbus, Salty Saturday Superstar for $5. Happy end of 2023 SMP. I was a letdown from Rebel Moon. Mr. Kadish was unfortunately right, as I normally am. Looked really pretty, and that's about it. Sup, Vader? And then we got John Burns for yet another Canadian $2.79. Justine Bateman, Family Ties. I hate reading movies.
Yeah. I've been saying that for years on the SMP. I don't like to read movies either.
I don't want to read movies.
Brian,
We have Fluffy Panda for $2. I warned you about Brian, but no one listened. This is true.
Yeah,
Should have
it's
listened to you,
alright.
Fluffy.
Yes, you should have listened. And then finally, William Forbus again for $10. D&D was my favorite pick from 2023. It stimulated my nerd brain from start to finish and no real agenda preaching. I watched it with my nephew, sort of family friendly.
Yeah.
Best entertainment of 2023 is the Salty Nerd podcast. Thank you so much for that.
I gotta say, he's totally right about D&D, and the fact that it's still so high on the list when it came out like at the very beginning of the year. It's not only just good family entertainment, but like you can be a D&D fan or not a D&D fan and enjoy that movie to death. And being a fan of Dungeons and Dragons only makes the movie better because you understand, how much more deeper some of the references are. It's good.
The only thing I didn't like about it was that they had a tiefling as the main character, and I'm not about that.
I saw that. I was traveling
Went to
internationally.
half elf. Sorry.
Yes, I was traveling internationally and I saw it and I was like, oh, this is actually really good. It was a nice. I don't know if I would have seen it in the theater, but I'm glad I got to see it. Another film I actually forgot to mention. It wasn't the greatest film ever, but it was fun. Heart of Stone actually wasn't bad. It was the Netflix movie with Gal Gadot and Jamie Dornan. It was fun.
Oh, I couldn't even make it through that movie.
I didn't get through that one. It might
What's
have
it called?
did pick up. It's like
Heart of Stone.
Like
it wasn't Citadel. It wasn't Citadel.
Citadel was so bad.
I mean, it might as well have been Citadel because it was just as stupid.
I gotta be
that
honest,
is my
though.
genre. That is the genre that you can get me very easily. I will watch just about anything in that genre. And the second I saw the 360 Russo brothers shot that pans in and the muted color tones, I'm like, oh God, help me.
The first scene.
I watched this movie. I actually like this movie.
Heart of Stone
only because Priyanka Chopra is so damn hot.
And that's true. And that's the thing.
That was
Heart of Stone
Citadel.
was fun. Yeah, Heart of Stone was actually fun. But like the Citadel, I have to admit that first scene really killed it for me because I was like,
yeah,
it's gonna suck. Everything's cliched, it's generic, it's over the top, and not in a good way.
All right, guys. So moving on to our next panelist topic, Odin. What did you have for us today?
Did I even send you anything? Because I don't even know that was an assignment that we
I know, right?
that we had. Good
The
Lord.
dog ate my homework.
Talk to us, Wanderer.
I guess what I can do is I can talk about box office, because it's just what I do. What do y'all think was the biggest box office bomb of 2023?
The Marvels.
Are we
probably
based
Aquaman?
on
Probably
money
a movie
alone?
we've never even heard of before.
Probably.
Indiana Jones 5.
Like Bros.
Oh
2 or
yes,
something.
yes,
Indy 5.
yes,
Indy
Indy 5.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes.
Should have known Culture was going to get that one.
Yes.
Yes.
He's a man of culture.
Yes. So remember, the reported budget was $300 million, but we know it's likely a lot higher than that. And I think some have speculated closer to $400 million budget. So we're looking at a film that's going to be in the $300 million range as far as financial losses are concerned. That also goes very hand in hand with the fact that Disney lost right now, based off of, again, we don't have all the most up-to-date budgets yet or marketing numbers, but around $1.4+ billion in financial losses theatrically for them. What studio do y'all think won this year?
I just want to say real quick,
A1 or whatever.
Kadish is over here going, yeah, it's my fault.
I think.
Well, I was going to say I spent 2 years laying the groundwork to destroy that movie, and it came to fruition. So
I think that because of all of Warner Brothers' losses, it can't be them. So it has to either be Lionsgate, possibly Sony.
I think it's Universal.
I don't know.
Yep, that would be correct. Universal, roughly $280 million in net gain profits. Still nothing compared to the 1.6 roughly billion they put into actually production budget and market the actual movies themselves. Sometimes people forget that they had a massive loss this year in Fast 10. And the reason why Fast 10 was such a big loss for them was because that film cost $340 million. Yeah. We forget about that. So this actually would be in that same category as Indiana Jones. The big difference is that the film actually made money. The big the hurt though for it was that it made most of its money overseas. It made over $135 million in China, of which it only gets 25%, and then it made over 433 million in other countries, of which it gets about 40%. So it was still a massive financial loss.
It made less money, and then also there was the delay when Justin Lin decided, I'm tired of working with Vin Diesel, and they had to find another director. I think it was Louis Leterrier. Yes, thank you.
There was an article that came out just a couple of days ago, Odin, from Variety. It was basically a box office report for the year, and it was really, really funny because Disney had Disney's The Little Mermaid listed as a win for Disney at $569 million, but it had the Fast and the Furious listed as a loss for Universal with 700. It was freaking hilarious, dude.
I was like
I hate those articles.
This was the year where people have to realize you can't do $250 to $300 million. Barbie, Oppenheimer, $100 million movies with very large returns because they kept the budgets down. Right? You got to find a way to spend less money on these things.
It's also, it's also why you can't just take the total box office, because that's the other thing that they do is they say, well, this movie studio has won the year because they made over $2 billion. It's like, yes, without accounting for the spend on the movie and the marketing cost, and they don't get 100% of it. Oh, okay.
Of course, what they have to give to the theaters, exactly. Yeah.
They lie about, they always, like all of the Twitter accounts that track box office numbers, they're like, it's almost broken even because they list the cost for the movie with the box office. I'm like, bro, you're lying to people. Stop lying to people.
Yeah.
Speaking of lying when it comes to box office, this has been a pet peeve of mine for as long as I've been on Twitter, and it is how people use CinemaScore to reflect the quality of a movie. People who just don't understand what CinemaScore is, it drives me freaking batty.
Yeah. What is CinemaScore?
It's a worthless company, perfectly honest.
Well, there's
so CinemaScore is a market research firm that basically polls people on opening night for movies to try to gauge how effective the marketing for the movie was. And the score they give is based off of like, okay, the marketing for this movie was good because it got people into the theaters on opening night and so on and so forth. But people think of it as the CinemaScore grade means that the movie itself was good as opposed to the marketing. And they just have no concept of how CinemaScore actually works, and
that somehow it means people are going to go to see the movie itself because it had
it's the same thing, right? Yeah. It's parent analytics only for
And the issue I have with them as a company is that all they give you is a grade. They don't tell you how many people they survey. They don't tell you what markets they surveyed, and so it's like, oh, so you could have asked 10 people in LA for this one movie. And that's not going to really tell me anything about it. And add to that, it's about the marketing and not about the actual quality of the movie itself. And also, what's going to stop them from grading it as if it was their actual thought on the movie too? Because we might know that, but they themselves, even if they're told that, might say, "Well, I'm going to put it as an A+ because I actually just enjoyed the movie." I mean, who's going to stop any of those people from doing it? But kind of going back to the box office for a second. So how many studios? So out of, let's see, I think I have 5 major studios: Universal, Sony, Lionsgate, Paramount, Warner Brothers, Disney. How many of them do you think actually made profit?
2.
Yep. Only Sony and Universal actually saw any profits whatsoever. Lionsgate, I will say, had quite a bit because of Expendables. Expendables was a big financial loss.
See, that's in Expendables 4 is a perfect example that just because it's dumb doesn't mean it's always going to be fun, right? Brian, Expendables 4 was horrible, but it's just the same type of dumb movies as these other ones. But I was like, who the hell did the green screen on this movie?
Yeah.
Right?
I think Expensibles is correct.
But
Expendables because it's a throwback to Fan 4 Stick.
Oh, okay. There you go. I like that too.
They spend less money, man. As of November, when we were doing a lot of the box office stuff before Wish came out, 20 movies were in the top 20 box office for the year. Only 10 of those 20 movies saw any profit at all. And that was with conservative budget for marketing, right? Because I'm like, look, there's a strike. There's very possible, Aquaman wasn't out yet, but I'm like, they're not going to put as much marketing into this because they're dumping it anyways. I'm surprised they even bothered with a theater release. But I mean, I guess not because given the budget for it, right? But 10 movies, when you but 4 of those top ones all had $100 million budgets. Sound of Freedom made a lot of money because it only cost $15 million to make.
Right. And actually, the people who made the money off of that spent, I think, even less. I think they spent, 5? to
They
do it.
didn't spend much to acquire it from 20th Century.
Yeah. So like, as far as their actual net profits are concerned, like they actually made a lot more return on investment.
They made $230 million on that film.
Yeah. I will say this.
Wild.
I'm amazed too that the studio with the highest grossing film of the year, Barbie, right, from Warner Brothers, also had some of the biggest losses of the year, and yet somehow did not lose as much as Disney.
Because of Barbie.
But no, that's the thing. But remember, for Barbie, they're splitting those profits with Mattel. And so even when you account for that split, they are still half of what Disney's losses are.
Wow.
They put out so many more movies, spending all the money and not making anything off. Yep.
They put on more movies. Yeah, I figured that's probably okay.
It's also crazy. Go ahead.
I know what the answer is. How to fix Disney's profits? It's a racially diverse Fantastic Four.
Yes.
Yes.
I think that's what we need.
Bring
to
back Michael B. Jordan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make Javier Bardem, he's Galactus, and then also make Silver Surfer's going to be a woman. I heard that. It's actually a rumor.
I think
if they do that, I'm not watching. I don't care.
I'm
watching it. I'm watching it
Fantastic Four film. Every character is female. There are no men in the film. I'm signing up.
Fantastic females.
It's also crazy when you think about it. When you think about the money that Barbie made and the hoopla around Barbie, think about the fact that it barely made more than Super Mario Brothers, which gets no credit for making almost as much money.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like way earlier in the year.
It almost feels like people forgot that movie existed. It was
it almost forgot it feels like there's not an agenda.
They don't want to reward Chris Pratt for
because he's apparently he's the worst Chris now.
Apparently he's terrible. All right, guys, real quick, we got a super chat from John Burns for another $2.79 Canadian. Still love some Ryan George pitch meetings.
Yes.
Wow.
He's great.
And another for John Burns 279. I feel like he's laundering money through our stream.
That's okay. Launder away.
But honest trailers and how it should have ended any good. Well, maybe. I haven't watched those in quite some time.
I still love honest trailers. I do.
Okay.
They get like the one they did for Halo was really, really good. The one they did for the Halo TV series was really, really good. I still get a kick out of those.
Yeah, that was a garbage show.
I started getting back into bad lip reading, and I'm enjoying those now.
those are pretty good.
Yeah.
And finally, we got a $5 super chat from William Forbus. Best part of bad movies, Ryan George pitch meeting and the Salty Nerd podcast roasting it. Surprised that Indy lost more than the Marvels. Thanks, Odin, for the info.
The only other film that would have given it a run for its money would have been The Flash. But because we know Indy costs a lot more than what they're saying, The Flash right now, which on paper is a bigger loss because it made because both of them did not make much of anything. But because we know Indy's is a lot higher, that's why that will end up edging it out.
All right, guys. So I wanted to throw this over to Charles. Charles, what topic did you want to talk about today? And just so everyone knows, we're probably going to go a little bit long. I know Vader and Odin can't stay much past the next 10 minutes, but we got their takes, and so hopefully the rest of the panel can hang out until we get through everyone. So Charles, go for it.
So I think one of the things we've seen this year is truly the collapse of the tentpole picture in many ways. It's not completely dead because we've seen, Barbenheimer, which did really well when they do those. It was a throwback to what they used to do way back when in the 50s and the 60s. And I hope we get back to stuff like that. But we're seeing that so many of these movies that, whether they're part of an established franchise or just an adaptation, they throw $200-300 million. And that's one of the reasons why you're seeing so many of these films who have pretty much, they live and die by these tentpole announcements. Because we all remember when we were younger, obviously you'd have the summer tentpoles, maybe the winter Christmas tentpoles, but you'd have the mid-budget films, which were maybe about under $50 million, 80s, 90s money. And they had a lot more of those. And those were kind of the ones where, okay, they might not cost a lot, but they'd still make profit. They'd still actually do well. They're not making $1 billion. That wasn't really even a thing back then. But you'd have a movie that was $35-40 million, and maybe it'll do $200-300 million. And I feel that if Hollywood wants to survive, you need to start doing more things like that. And that really involves stepping back from some of these, it goes back to what Chris was saying earlier, where things have become so corporatized that's all they care about. Big profit, big profit, big profit. And not thinking about, okay, let's do this movie. It's going to make money. Obviously, this is a business. You want to make money, but have a film that doesn't need to have a sequel. Don't need to make a franchise out of it. Don't need to make a spinoff of it. It's a one-off, and that's where you go. You know, so that was one topic I wanted to do. So the second topic was, actually, it's piggybacking on what Chris said. It's a quote that the Green Goblin said in No Way Home. Strong enough to have it all, too weak to take it. And I think that's the best way to describe Warner Brothers when it comes to the DCEU. They should have been printing money and just seeing all the missteps, because obviously a lot of people give Zack Snyder, rightfully so, give him a lot of crap, but he was hired by Warner Brothers. It all comes back to them. The decisions, the helicoptering, not having one person, and Sarnoff, but not having one person in charge at Warner Brothers who was really kind of the Kevin Feige. And all these people who are just like being so overreactive, and oh, we're going to do this, and not having a true plan, and not having Zack Snyder, and also choosing the wrong architect. Zack Snyder is not an architect for any comic universe, given his cynicism, his nihilism, his worship of grimdark and being an edgelord or whatever. But it's just, you see just the costly mistakes that are made because people are jockeying for power and they're not trying to tell a creative story. They just want to play catch up. And it was just really, really just sad and just like, wow, what a wasted opportunity. Because I feel one of the reasons why the superhero era ended the way it did, or is ending as soon as it did, is because of them. Because you saw, even with Batman versus Superman, I refuse to call it V, Batman versus Superman, it's just a little pet peeve of mine. Because of that movie, that's the reason why Civil War happened. That inspired the Russos to do Civil War. Now think about it. If they'd actually had their crap together and they were going head for head and pushing each other, how amazing would that have been? It would have been like, talking to us WWE fans, would have been like the Attitude Wrestling Wars of the 90s.
Coke versus
pushing each
Pepsi.
other to be better. Exactly. Where they're pushing each other. You could have gotten at least another 10 years out of that.
Yep.
I remember that they didn't want to move the release date. That was a big move for Marvel when they didn't move the release date for Civil War.
And
that was a huge deal for them, right?
Yeah.
It's like to your first point, I think that I actually reference this a lot. I say we need a Tony Scott of the era, somebody who could do the mid-budget movie. And the problem is streaming came in, and Matt Damon has this old quote where he talks about, look, these mid-budget movies, they didn't always make their money at the box office. They made it up in DVD sales. That's how they ended up making their profit. And now, because everything is gobbled up by streaming, that you see a lot of these movies, they're not going to come out in theaters. They're not going to risk it. You could say The Creator was a movie like that with an $80 million budget. And they're not going to be willing to put the advertising behind those types of movies because they don't have the IP, and they're not going to be able to make their money back on streaming the way they used to be able to make it back with DVD and Blu-ray and all of these things, or VHS. I mean, how many movies are there that you go to Walmart and you see that movie in the bin and it's been there for 10 years? That movie has sold to a lot of people over a long period of time. Like I saw the movie Deja Vu for the first time like this year, and I knew it by heart because of I knew the cover by heart because I'd seen it at a Walmart in the $5 bin for 10 years. So without a return to physical media, I think it's going to be very hard for them to find a way to make those mid-budget movies really, really profitable again.
You're right.
Also, to the tentpole thing, I want to ask the panel, do you guys remember, number one, when Waterworld came out and it got such a huge story, was like, oh, it's over $100 million, and then Titanic comes out and it's like, oh, it was $200 million,
Right.
and that like those numbers were so astronomical at the time.
They were.
Yeah.
And even, you know what, it's funny because I remember at one point, the most expensive movie ever made was Terminator 2. It was $90 million. And I think Titanic, I don't know how much Titanic was. I remember Waterworld, because at the time it was insane. It was $200 million back in the 90s.
Well, it was originally, the budget for Waterworld was originally like $100 million. And then it ballooned up to like 175.
Because they were shooting on the and it was like tearing up your sets and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
That movie's brilliant, by the way. I love it.
But then Titanic was 200 million. It ended up being 275 million when everything was said and done.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they bought all the steel in Hawaii, which is was one of the problems with Waterworld. But and to that same point, because the tentpole conversation is a big one, they reduced the number of tentpoles we're going to see in 2024.
Yeah,
they're only going to be 30.
30?
So,
how many were this year?
I think 42.
30.
Upper 40s, if I remember correct. I mean, Odin probably knows off the top of his head, but
I actually don't. Yeah, I don't follow that.
I think it's 42, 43, something like that. But 30 tentpole films this year. So they're, by simple fact that they aren't able to produce as many films right now because we did have 6 months of work stoppage, and we may get another 3 months or more if IATSE decides to serve that up here in the next few weeks.
Isn't 30 a lot? That sounds like a lot of movies.
No.
Did you see that list that said that 17 of the movies coming out next year are sequels?
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, Tom made a big deal of that the other day. You know, Joker 2. Everything's a something 3, Terrifier 3. I mean, you're getting just a list of that.
Inside Out 2.
Vader, there are 12 months in a year. If you double that, that's 24. So like, you know, if they put out 2 tent poles per month, we'd only have 2 tent poles.
That's basically a movie every weekend, excluding some.
I would redirect your attention to the year 2018 and 2019 when the most movies ever were released in those years. It was ridiculous. Those 2 years. The box office numbers were incredibly skewed. Disney dominated both of those years by an impressive factor of 3.
And somehow Aquaman made $1 billion in 2018.
I mean, are we considering
what is that?
Women.
I'm looking at
it.
Yes,
it was
women.
The women.
Yes.
It was. I think their opening weekend it was the craziest thing. Had a higher percentage of female representation. It's like they wanted to see
the only reason my wife went to go see that movie was because she wanted to see Jason Momoa in wet jeans.
That's the only superhero movie that skewed more women, anyways. Like I think they said that. That's the
for any weekend,
and that's the thing that really blows my mind about why they're trying to create this phantom demographic of like, let's just push fully women. The guys are going to take their wives or their girlfriends or their significant others or whatever, or sometimes their daughters. It's just going to happen. It's kind of like I'm going to give you a weird example. One of the things that Tupac taught Notorious B.I.G. is don't make rap for the dudes, make it for the ladies, because then their guys are going to buy them and they're going to take them to the concerts. Kind of like the reverse with Marvel and superhero movies. Make it for the guys, they'll bring the women. And if there's a hot guy that's going to be in the movie, like a Hemsworth or a Momoa, the girls are going to see it on their own. Yeah. You're not going to have to force them to see it.
Makes sense. Tupac was a poet.
Yes,
you guys remember how upset women got with Fat Thor?
Oh my God.
Yes,
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know what the definition of a tentpole movie is, because to me, a tentpole movie in 2024 is something like Dune Part 2.
Yes.
You know, I'm looking at these lists of most anticipated movies. You know, it's got stuff like The Joker, Gladiator 2. Those to me, okay, those are tentpole movies, I guess. But they also got stuff on here like The Iron Claw, which I know is a fantastic movie, and I really do want to go see it. But that's not a tentpole movie.
No,
it's not. But
that's almost an art house flick. It
is, because it's not coming from the major studios.
Right. So I think, you know, a tentpole movie to me is like that 1 or 2 movie that comes out. The 2 movies that come out in May that are competing against each other, you know, Star Wars versus a Marvel movie or something like that. That's what a tentpole movie is. A tentpole movie to me is something that you go to McDonald's and you buy all 6 of the Happy Meals to get the toys for them, and you know, you can't get away from it on TV because you're just inundated with advertising, you know. But I don't know. I don't ever see 30 of those kind of movies come out in a year. That's why I feel like that was a lot. That was a big number.
A random note in terms of going back to Barbenheimer. Obviously that was inorganic. The problem is now they're going to learn the wrong lessons and try and make it an actual thing. Right. It all came from the fact that, let's be honest, Margot Robbie has bigger balls than Charles Roven, because Charles Roven from Warner Brothers actually called her and asked her to move the move. Actually, no, from Universal, whoever is at Universal, somebody at Universal called her because Barbie's at Warner Brothers. Said, "Hey, can you move the release?" And she's like, "No, dude, we're not moving it." And that's how that happened.
Yeah,
and it was a great.
Deadpool's a 2024 movie, right?
Yes, it is.
That's a
the only-
temple
that's the only
movie.
Marvel- That's
That's
the
a
only
temple
Marvel
movie.
It was
That's
also
intense.
great
also
because
Deadpool 3.
yes,
Yes.
3.
Mhm.
It was also
Yeah,
great
Beetle-
because Barbie then put Oppenheimer against him, which is Nolan's old studio over there
Yes.
at so there was a lot of you can't remake that type of
No.
magic. When we went to the theater to see it, there was like a yard sale going on for like off-brand Barbenheimer merch going on at the
Awesome.
theater while that was going on. And you're right, they are going to learn the wrong lessons because what did they decide to do after Barbie made $1 billion? They said, let's make toy movies. No, make movies for women. Women want to spend money. Make a
Yes.
movie about makeup. I don't care, but tell an actual
Well,
story.
they're making a,
Do it- you know what?
they're
Do a
making
gem
Ray
movie.
movie.
And
Do a
it's
gem
market
movie.
it. Yeah.
Do a
And
gem
then-
a
movie.
Monopoly movie.
Do a gem movie.
Yes.
Guys, they're making a new Ray Skywalker movie. So.
Yes.
Oh
That is
yeah,
true.
but that's it.
Oh,
You have to
yeah.
you have to market it that way, right? Because
Yes.
I hated
Ray
Barbie.
Palpatine?
There's a
Ray
lot of crap
Palpatine?
in there, but the reason why the film was so effective was because they marketed it perfectly
Yeah.
for their audience, and their audience showed up.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey,
And-
if
and,
you
like, they
hate
could do
men,
that-
this is a movie for you.
Yeah, they do
I,
that. That women get more of the TV demographic, right? That's why you get
Yes.
like the show, the true crime, or Emily in Paris. All of these things that women actually want to watch. What was the one about the lady con man that was on from Netflix from earlier this year? That
I
did
know what
really,
you're
really
talking
well.
about.
But the point is Emily in Paris, right? But like there was a couple of other ones that did really, really well because women show up for that. But you need to put that on the big screen. Like they need to make a movie about the Theranos lady and just
They
put it
did.
on.
They did.
But
They made
it wasn't a
TV
movie;
show.
it was a TV
The
show.
TV
That's
show.
what I'm saying. They need
It's
to put these
Hulu,
in the theaters.
No, you're right.
I like the
Guys,
TV show.
I think
real-
I think a Star Wars makeup movie is a winner.
There we go.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, real quick, we got a couple super chats to get through real quick. Fluffy Panda for $2. Get off my back. Barely an inconvenience.
I need you to get off my back about that right now.
I need to get all the way off my back about that. That's right.
Okay.
All right, and John Burns for another $2.79 Canadian.
Yes.
Honest trailers. The next generation had fun with Kardashians.
The watch all of the Fast and the Furious honest trailers are really, really funny. Because each one ends with Car Wars episode whatever. They're really, really good.
All right, and finally another John Burns 279. Pitch Marvel, is Emma Clark in this? Hey, shut up. Very good stuff. All right, guys, we're going to keep going because we got a couple other panelist topics to get to, but I know Matt Vader and Odin have to leave. Odin, any final thoughts before you leave for the new year?
Well, that was super easy. Barely an inconvenience. I nothing really. I love this show. I love always being able to come on these on Saturdays. It's the perfect time when my son, who's this amazing kid, but he's a toddler. And so it's that 3-year-old toddler age. If anyone has kids and has had toddlers before, you know, it's a age where you love them, but there's also moments that they drive you nuts. So this nap time is a great time just to be able to jump on and to have some fun. And there's a lot of good films that came out this year. I think that's kind of like the thing I want to leave off on is that there were a lot of good things that did come out. I think, fortunately for some of them, either they just got lost in the fray because there are just still too many of these major studios pushing all this crap and garbage. And I think that has kept a lot of people from wanting to venture out. It used to be before COVID, you would go to the theater on a random weekend just to see what was on and say, oh, that looks interesting, or hey, I like this poster. And I remember people would do that. They would come up. I used to work at a theater. They would come up, look at the poster, and they would be like, that one kind of looks interesting. I'm gonna go see that. And you don't really have that anymore. COVID broke a lot of those habits. Yeah.
I got a question for you before you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so I watched this interesting video recently. It's this guy who it's called Subway Takes. He asks people their most controversial take. And he goes, this guy says, my most controversial take is I think that pre-sale ticketing killed movie theaters. Meaning that he said, now you used to just go to the theater, and if a ticket was available, you went. Maybe you had to sit in a different place from your friend, but you went. Or if the movie was sold out, you went and saw another movie. Now you go look online, and if there isn't seats available where you want, people just say, I'm not going. Think there's any accuracy to that?
I absolutely do. Because also I'm the kind of person where if I can't get a right seat, I may not go to that showing. Because now that I can visually see, oh, I have to sit next to somebody. I don't want that. You know, it's
Yep.
like if because and also you're stuck there too, right? Because, you know, it used to be where you could kind of go anywhere and things would kind of happen naturally. There were rules you would follow. You don't ever sit right in front of somebody, right? If it's an empty screen or something like that. But yeah, I think absolutely. Also, pre-sales are, I think, one of the worst metrics people use to predict opening weekends, because there is still a lot of foot traffic that you know, people have. But yeah, check me out over at OMB Reviews on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, and all the other various locations on Twitter. And I probably have a lot of films to watch, so top 10 list won't be coming out probably till next year, but I am working on my most anticipated list. And check me out over on Critic List as well. It's a great channel, and it's a great place to hang out.
Yep.
And real quick before we send Matt Vader off, William Forbus for $5. Happy New Year, guys. Bye, Odin and Vader. Vader, you're still my favorite. Been watching your game vids offline, making me interested in a new genre of game.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Thanks,
Right, yeah.
Was he
All right, Vader.
You play
Yes.
Leisure Suit Larry, Vader?
No, Leisure Suit Larry games.
Oh, okay.
That's nice
No,
though.
I
You're
think
showing
it's
your
called-
age there, brother.
It's called
Oh,
Cuckold
yeah.
Simulator.
Oh,
Awesomeness Simulator. Yeah.
I do have to get out of here. So I know you're pointing it over to me. But really quick though, to what you were saying earlier, it is kind of fun to watch the pre-sales of theaters just grow, because it's like my wife and I are those people. We sit in the same seats every time, back seat, far left. That's where we sit. That's where I like to sit. I like to be on the end. She likes to be next to me, and we don't like anybody sitting next to us. So when it's fun to watch those theaters fill up, because there's always a seat buffer between groups when you watch them fill up. So it's just kind of an interesting thing watching people play Tetris with the theaters, you know, when they're buying those pre-sales. But what can I get out of here with? I want everybody to do me a favor and go to YouTube and Kick and just find Matt Vader 74 on there, because 2024 I'm going to be doing a lot of streaming games over there. I'm playing a lot of stuff just because I'm not very good at it right now. I'm dialing in stuff, you know, I'm trying to get things going. I'm using Stream Deck on my iPad and all this kind of thing. So watching me be a technical buffoon trying to figure out a gaming stream is kind of amusing. I did one the other night where I was completely in the dark because I forgot to turn my camera on. It was ridiculous. You know, that kind of stupid stuff. So yeah, please follow me on YouTube and Kick. You know, who knows what's going to happen there, but I would like to get those monetized.
Sold.
Thanks, Charles. Thanks. I want to thank all you guys for coming on and hanging out with us this year. Culture, you know, you're kind of like our fill-in guys. Like, oh man, somebody can't come today, so I'm going to call Culture at an hour before we go live, and you're there. Appreciate that, man. You're everywhere, and love you, dude. Odin, you're Mr. Solid. It's great that you're a regular part of the show. And Brett, it's been fantastic meeting you and getting to know you a little bit this year. And I look forward to 2024 as we're going to keep this thing going. Charles, your massive brain always makes me in awe of you, especially when I'm next to you and you're 3 feet taller than me in real life. And it's awesome because I'm not used to being a little guy in the room. And Brian, brother, love you, bro. 2024 is fantastic for you, because I've had a good time watching you guys, even though I know 2023 kind of sucked for you guys. It's been fun watching you guys do what you do. And
thanks, man.
Tell Shane hello. And Mr. Kadish, I don't know what to say to you. I don't. You keep us going. You're the things that make us go. So I appreciate you and everybody in the chat. Thanks for the regulars, Forbus, Quantum for keeping things interesting. I can't go through the whole list because I'm just starting to gush, but thank you all so much for making 2023 fun. I hope this channel keeps growing, and I'm saying that I got to get out of here because I got to go to work. So thanks everybody.
Thank you.
He said
See you, friend.
You said the thing.
What'd I say?
You said
called me Mr. K. You got it right.
Mr. Kadish.
I did? Oh man.
No,
He doesn't realize.
I don't love Iron Man.
Got it right.
Mexican Iron Man. That son of a bitch.
You did it, man. You did. I'm so proud of you.
All right.
All right. See y'all later.
Peace out.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
And real quick, we got one more super chat before we get back to the topics. William Forbus for $5. Make a Jim movie. Shut the fuck up. I would absolutely love to watch that in theaters. Grew up watching Jim with my older sisters. Loved it. Great idea drop. Yes. Jim and the Holograms. They actually made a Jim movie already. So
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Might want to
they
go
did.
check that out. It was terrible. Yeah, it was really bad. All right, so Culture Casino. What is your topic for today?
Mine's easy and fast. In less than 33 hours, the Walt Disney Company will no longer control lock, stock, and two smoking barrels Mickey Mouse, because Steamboat Willie will have made his way to the public domain.
I'm surprised they didn't lobby Congress for another 30 years.
Yeah, they usually do, right?
They made half of Congress their enemy in the last 8 years.
Finally.
So, yeah, and they had been extending copyright for a long time. So
Yeah,
after
they've ruined the art community.
They have, yeah. And after 95 years, here we all. Also, the earliest version of Minnie goes with him. Winnie the Pooh, which was an acquisition by Disney, goes with him. Some other things non-Disney related, like Lady Chatterley's Lover and some other stuff like that. I think it's quite interesting that from now on, you'll be able to see maybe a Harlequin romance style hot and steamy film featuring Steamboat Willie and Minnie Mouse could be on the horizon. All kinds of things. We've already seen Winnie the Pooh, what happens when he fell into, and now it's other characters from Winnie the Pooh that are falling into this. But what happened? We ended up with Blood and Honey. Well, we're getting Blood and Honey too. That's right. We also have, interestingly enough, Peter Pan and Wendy falling into the public domain.
That movie's already been announced too. The horror movie version of that has already been announced. So,
I'm thinking you're going to see lots of prawns and things like that outside of even satire. You're going to see lots of stuff featuring these characters. It's going to be a weird year, and you're going to still see lawsuits from this because Disney thinks that their ownership of the trademark of Mickey Mouse is going to protect his likeness.
Nope.
And I disagree thoroughly. So anybody who knows copyright well, I think that would be Brian, our representative here of the all things rainbowy. He probably knows copyright pretty good.
I know it really well. I've been dealing with it for 23 years. My brother and I own multiple trademarks, multiple copyrights. We have multiple lookbooks for all of our products. It is a chore to continually keep up with that.
It is.
But the worst part, yeah, you probably know too.
I do actually, yeah.
Yeah, the worst part about the system is not artists protecting their work. That's great. But when Disney continually lobbied Congress and manipulated the system to extend laws from 30 to lifetime to 100 to 120, they effectively destroyed the art world. And I'll tell you why. All art ever is inspired by something that inspired you, right? So if you grow up inspired by something and now you're, a young artist and you start creating, you can only do so much in a world where a giant business can decide unilaterally that your work, even if it's not trademarked or copywritten or whatever, is their product. You don't have the money to fight them. You can't argue against them. Now, they tried to switch it up. They tried to add some checks and balances in there with various claim laws and parodies and all these different ways that artists can get around and create new artworks. But you have to have the money and the clout to fight that. If a company decides you can't sell your work online or post it online, even if you're completely right in what you're doing, even if your work isn't their work and it's only loosely inspired by your childhood with Steamboat Willie or whatever, they can just decide that you can't do that anymore. And there's nothing you can do about it, because even if they're wrong, you can't fight them. Yeah. And Disney went to Congress, went to the government, and extended trademarks to oblivion. And now most people are never going to live long enough to be able to create. No, all people are not going to live long enough to be able to create artwork based on what inspired them as children. Yeah. And that's the worst part of it. That's the worst thing Disney ever did. And all to protect a black and white stupid mouse. And you know what the crazy part is? Mickey Mouse, the current version you see, he's not going to enter public domain. The Steamboat Willie version is.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't have to do this. When they extended it the third time, they could have stopped at 60 years and it would have been fine.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be in a world where you can't even use a sample of a song that was recorded on a retrograph in something without getting hit. But they could have just let it go because they're not even using Steamboat Willie anymore. They're not using that. They've updated the artwork so many times. Take Coca-Cola, for instance. I'll give Coca-Cola props because they release their trademarks on when they're done with something. Like, you know, they change their logo a lot. After like 2 or 3 logos, they release the trademarks from the logos they're no longer going to use anymore. And the reason they do that is to foster artwork. They want people to be able to want to collect old Coca-Cola products.
It's earned media. It's free promotion for your brand. So people are going to see that and like, oh, this. Yeah.
One of the few companies that do that when they're like, oh, well, you know what? That logo is three logos ago. And even though we still own the copyright for 100 years because of Disney, we're going to release it and let people work with it.
And for normal people, it's only 10 years. It was 20 years like some time ago. Now you can only own a trademark for about a trademark or a service mark because there is a difference. You can only do that for about 10 years.
Yeah, and for us normal folks, we have to register it constantly. I have to
also
my
the
entire product list and put it into a lookbook every year because I can't afford $400 a design. I got to you got to do lookbooks,
and that's not even considering the different classes you have to consider. Because it's not just a matter of, oh, I get the trademark, I'm good. No, you got to cover. Okay, does this cover like ebooks? Does this cover like?
Yeah, I only do apparel, you know, because that's primarily what I sell. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, you got to pick the right category. And as regular people, we can't like afford like a $400. No, so you have what you got. Like the trick is, take all your work, put it into a book, and then copyright trademark the book itself.
Oh, okay.
Remember when Marvel,
like the Popcast Volume 6, 2023 is going to be our next one.
Remember when Disney sued the father for putting Spider-Man on his son's grave?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yep.
No.
Oh yeah.
Well, they didn't sue him. They just made him take it off.
They sent him a cease and desist, and he had to take it off the grave.
That is just.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, base Chad Coca-Cola lets retailers exist like just mom and pop shops selling Coca-Cola merch. You know, no big deal as long as they're not using the most recent stuff. Yeah. It's incredible how like brain dead Disney is. And they think that normies will never figure out how just absolutely evil and greedy they are, but they are. People are waking up to how really horrible.
Do you know who
Disney
works well within the spirit of copyright? Illumination Universal. They allow for use of the minions at like daycares and stuff like that. As long as they're not selling merch, you'll find minions like inside daycares. You'll find them on. They're not going to complain about a kid having minions on their tombstone or any of that stuff. They still protect their copyright by, you know, if people are making a profit on that stuff. But if they're just using it in course of like part of their business, they're not going after them. Whereas Disney is the polar opposite.
And that's brilliant though, because now those kids get older and they're now Minions fans.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
We actually covered a story fairly recently. Country singer Luke Combs found out that a company that he employs was going after this woman who was selling like tumblers with his face on it, or like tumblers of the artist. And he's like, look, I hired this company. They're not supposed to stop these small people. They're supposed to stop massive counterfeiting operations that are making products on a large scale with my likeness and selling it online. Right. So he had to reach out to this lady who had her eBay shut down, her PayPal closed by the company based on fraud. And he reimbursed her and then doubled it and then made the product legit and then gave her all the money.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not normally the way it goes. Normally you're selling something on Etsy and all of a sudden, the BBC jumps in there because you made you put a joke, your latest Doctor Who joke on a t-shirt using none of their marks, none of their likenesses, none of their trademarks, nothing. But they're you know what? you are sort of competing with our giant Amazon, storefront. So we're just going to shut you down and remove your entire store from existence. And then all of a sudden you lose your livelihood. And luckily, if you're like us, you know how to survive. So you have, 15 marketplaces. But a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people just have just the mom at home trying to make side cash on Etsy. Now that you just shut down for good.
I had a friend whose Etsy store got closed down this year because of something very, very similar, and took a month to get it back, but it was over the holidays. So all the sales that she would have gotten over the holidays, she lost out on because they just unilaterally shut her down. No explanation for why. Took a month to get an explanation. Had to file multiple claims.
Bro, we started a Popcast Etsy store, and we were up for a few months selling our various merch, and we got shut down because another seller claimed our Popcast shirt was designed by them. It has my face on it.
Yeah.
It's my face on the shirt. And we tried to appeal, but no one, all you do is just bounce off of a computer over and over again. And eventually we're like, you know what? We sold 4 shirts this entire time. It's just not worth, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. And we just gave up.
Yeah.
Guys, real quick, we got a super chat from Shane H. Wilder for $4.99. A steamy Harlequin movie with Mickey gives a whole new meaning to Steamboat Willie.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. All right, Brian, what is your topic for today?
No, I just talked about it. So
that was Culture's topic.
Yeah, I know, but I was jumping on that.
Okay. Well, the topic I wanted to talk about today, it's something that has been really annoying me for the past 2 days over on Twix. So have you guys heard of the conservative pinup calendar?
Oh, the calendar.
Oh, calendar
Gate. I have to
Gate.
talk about Calendar Gate. Holy crap.
Explain. Yeah, I have no
all right.
idea.
So someone got the bright idea to gather a bunch of attractive conservative women and have them pose for a calendar.
Yeah, genius.
Just fully clothed, not doing anything suggestive or sexual or whatever. It's just, these are the conservative women superstars, and here's a calendar that you can buy, and proceeds go to charity or something like that. And they got Riley Gaines and the redheaded libertarian, and a bunch of other well-known very attractive conservative women.
I bought it.
And as soon as the calendar came out, the redheaded libertarian's pose in particular, she's in a kitchen, she's got a pie, fully dressed, cross in the background, very traditional, nothing even remotely controversial about this thing. And someone comes out and claims that this is demonic and it's anti-Christian. And then Jenna Ellis, former lawyer for President Trump, who then turned around and endorsed DeSantis and did a bunch of stuff that was, kind of against Trump, comes out and starts calling this calendar softcore pornography. Now, keep in mind, there's no nudity in this calendar. There's not even suggestiveness, right? Nope. Like the women in this calendar are not doing anything sexual, and they're not wearing anything that you wouldn't wear out in public. Right.
Right.
Yes, it is hard to imagine Riley Gaines, the swimmer, wearing a bathing suit. That's crazy.
Yeah, Riley Gaines is the closest to being kind of sexual, but she's wearing a bikini and basically a swimsuit. Yes. You could go to your local beach and see hundreds of women wearing the exact same thing, or your local pool. There's nothing even remotely pornographic about this.
Nothing.
And yet Jenna Ellis has been on Twix, attacking the redheaded libertarian, basically calling this thing softcore pornography, and
so is
shaming,
that Bryce guy.
Shaming Christian men for supporting this because it's you find these women attractive, that means it's pornography, you're evil, you need to repent. It's Sharia law level of censorship.
It's basically Christian fundamentalism. But going back to Jenna Ellis, she is the last person who should be talking about anything moral.
For real, dude.
Just anything that she's done. She should go away from the public square forever.
But anyway, you want to give us a breakdown, Charles?
She should disappear into the bushes like Homer Simpson.
Well,
Charles, give us a breakdown on Jenna Ellis.
I don't want to get into that. I'd rather not. If you want to, that's fine. I don't want to get into that type of stuff. But what I will talk about is I will talk about this. It's funny because the same people who are complaining about this type of stuff are probably doing the same stuff that Moms for Liberty's founder was doing behind the scenes. So it's just kind of like, it seems like every accusation is almost a confession. Like people, it doesn't matter what spectrum they're on, when they purport themselves as some type of moral authority and they beat their chest about it, usually they're doing some shady shit behind the scenes. So it's like, usually it's like, I'm going to just like, okay, dude.
It does feel very Lincoln Project to me.
Yeah.
yes.
Oh yeah.
The thing that really annoys me about this whole controversy.
That's a good
I mean, like if they don't like the calendar, like that's fine. They can speak out about it, but trying to define it as porn.
Yeah.
Like definitions have meaning, right? And like there's nothing pornographic about this. You know, Brett, you actually know some of the people involved in that calendar. Like what was your take on this whole thing?
I think that in a lot of ways, because conservatives, you know, it goes hand in hand with the Christian right. They fall more on the side of talking about morals than certainly a lot of people on the left, at least in that respect, right? In regards to sexuality and Puritanism, though, of course, we see a new form of Puritanism coming from the left now. It would have always happened. I think that it has to do with the audience that they've courted. I think also a lot of it is now that somebody like me who is not right wing but is, you know, in right-wing circles because the Overton window has been pushed so far that now somebody who's just left-leaning libertarian-esque person is now confounded as being someone who's right-leaning. I laugh at it because I'm just like, look, it's not degenerate, but even if they were trying to be degenerate, you're not going to out degenerate the left anyways, because they love that type of stuff. So this type of infighting is why the right always ends up falling victim to themselves.
But since when did a milquetoast mild calendar, which again, this is the first I'm hearing about this. When did this become pornography? It's like,
no, it's absolutely not. It's not.
I know it's not. I know this is just a stupid overreaction.
The right does this a lot, man.
Yes,
they did this.
They do this
themselves. This is like a circle of pain for right-wing conservatives. They did the same exact thing in the 90s. I remember it so clearly when they basically fined Howard Stern off the air because he was saying naughty things that, you know, on the radio. And they lobbied the FCC, and they gave the FCC way too much power over specific to terrestrial radio. And then it came back to bite them in the ass like 10 years later. Censorship is a two-way sword. Conservatives do the same exact thing that the hardcore lefts do. Not all conservatives, but the hardcore conservatives, the one who wants to shame everyone for everything and censor anything that they deem inappropriate. They do this, and they don't want to hear this, but they do the same exact thing the left does.
Yeah,
freedom fries.
Yes. Yeah,
and also, and also, here's another thing too. Like, let's not forget, this is a small thing, and it was stupid when you really think about it. The Dixie Chicks, they were ashamed that Bush was from Texas. Yep. This didn't even happen in the States. The video didn't even get that much traction. It was just what they said. They got their careers were destroyed.
Yeah,
you know, and it's one of the reasons why I think even before she became a little more politically active, like later, now that she's like a billionaire. But when Taylor Swift first came into the industry, she was told, don't be like the chicks.
Yep.
Keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything. Be as milquetoast and neutral as possible.
Especially because she was a country artist.
Yes.
Yep.
So
I laugh at all of this stuff because I really do see it as the same type of thing. Look, what we're seeing right now is the same type of purity testing, the same type of purity spiral that you've been seeing on the left for the last couple of years in relation to pronouns and your support for LGBTQIA plus advocacy and all of these things. But they lose themselves on these topics that really mean nothing. And that it's also very, very online. It's a very, very online thing to worry about, right? Like, this isn't affecting anyone in the real world. If I had to say, and I don't mean to be mean to anyone, I thought the calendar was cringe in a way, because I feel like what they want to do is they always bring themselves into this space where they need to try to do what the left is doing, right? We want to do it, but we want to make it for us. Parallel economies. I get that. I just don't think that you're going to be able to do something like this in the same way that they will, because the handcuffs are off for them on that side. You'll certainly be able to talk about people's pronouns more freely because you don't care what they say about this stuff. But when it comes to sexuality, there's still a lot of repressed fundamentalism there.
Oh yeah. And the thing that just bothers me the most about just culture wars in general is that it distracts from the real stuff that actual just normal Americans who are not stuck online care about. But even more so, this is the thing that's more troublesome, is that you see people on the other side who disagree with you. You could have an actual discourse with somebody in person or maybe in a forum, but now it's a point where now somebody's on the right, they believe that they're not human, they're this, they're that, they see them as a thing, and somebody's on the left, somebody's on the left. They're dehuman, they're vile, they're this, they have no morals. Someone on the right, they're this crazy person. Like that, it's just
replace demonic with bigot or sexist.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you still
guys,
see this.
You all are focused on the wrong thing. Okay, let me tell you. Every single one of these photographs in this calendar was framed incorrectly. There wasn't enough color behind them. The lighting was
Who's
terrible.
your lighting guy?
Look at Josie. Josie has this giant white space behind her on the right that is incredibly disappointing.
Don't
put
these
a
people know
flag
about the
or
rule of
something in the
thirds?
background. But, you know, just
hey man, that's demonic, bro.
Yep.
She's holding up. She's holding a pie. There's a crucifix in the background. But look at that just absence of color behind her. Just one of those palette flags, right? Get one of those palettes, paint it with an American flag. Do something. Fill up.
Yeah, guys.
space.
So like this is actually these are all the pictures on this calendar. You have Kim Klasick. She's wearing a skirt. Got her leg kicked up.
She wore in her campaign.
Yep, it's like her ads were all very much the same thing.
Dana Loesch is up here fully clothed with like two M16s. Ashley St. Clair, even in the bathtub, like she's wearing clothes and pearls and stuff like that. Like there's literally nothing like Brittany Bartlett. She's wearing tights and what you'd wear to the gym.
But
nothing sexual about this.
But when did this? What is the problem with it even being sexual though? Like, what is the war on? What is the war on boners? What is that?
Because it's right leaning, and there is still a lot of Christian fundamentalism there that will not support that.
Yeah, the issue here is that this is called Conservative Dads, Real Women of America, and so the big fallout on this is that it's being marketed towards conservative dads. And it's like, oh, you're trying to destroy marriages. You're trying to co-opt dads from their families to find these women attractive instead of their wives. There's a bunch of that kind of like nonsense going on out there simply because it was a dad's calendar. It's like, oh, how dare a dad who is married and obligated to his family have a picture of women he lusts after on his wall. That's the big thing. And that's why they're trying to frame it as pornography and stuff like that, because they don't want dads to buy this calendar.
Yeah, see, they're superimposing their own problems onto us, because I'll have a comic with Jean Grey or whatever on my wall, and it's not just because she's it's an attractive comic book figure, but it's also a really cool comic that I support. Additionally, I don't have to be in lust or sitting there jerking off to it to appreciate the imagery, to appreciate the beauty of that person or that scene or whatever. It's not stop superimposing your hypersexuality onto us, man.
The issues with sexuality.
Yeah. This is why I feel like we're entering a space where now it's weird, because we're in a culture now that seems to want to push you either left or right and put you in a box, where I feel like a majority of people, rational minded people, are just becoming politically homeless because there's too much on either side that I can't get down with. And
each side is becoming top heavy.
Yes, I can't.
Well, the ironic thing here is like you could go on Twitch right now and find way more suggestive and sexual stuff than what's on this calendar. And if if somebody wanted to cheat on their wife or lust after women, like that would be the way to go instead of paying money for
Holly Madison.
It would have been funnier.
Scroll down on that Bryce's original post and see actual like OnlyFans models like spraying their legs underneath in the replies of his original post.
It would be even funnier if what they did was find like conservative porn women in porn, and then just go the whole way. Then just actually make the porn calendar. Commit to the bit.
It's the crying wolf about the littlest thing, and being, oh, this is this is that, this is this is that, and just demonize. And just that way, some of the stuff, even just for something again as mild as this, subtle as this, you're driving people even further into being able to not be themselves.
Yeah, it's super embarrassing too.
Yeah.
Well, look, there was what was it? There was an adult film star named Brandy Love who went to like a Turning Point USA Kids of like youth event, and everyone's like, this is why the right loses. Like, no, she shouldn't have been at an event where there's kids there, right? But you do yourself a disservice when there are women that work in these other industries that can find farther reach, but because Christian conservatism and fiscal conservatism all get mixed together, right? There's a lot of those topics devolved into people arguing about what the hell conservatism actually meant. So nothing actually gets discussed anyways. There's a lot of people with a lot of jobs that you or I may not support that have similar beliefs to you in other areas of life, that you do yourself a disservice by just casting them off because one aspect of their personality is something that you disagree with.
And I always, and you're absolutely right, Brent. And I think even just and this is just my definition when it comes to both things, like conservative, you're trying to conserve something or bring something down, maybe contract something that's a little out of control. Progressive, at least in its purest sense, not the way it's been weaponized here, you're trying to progress society forward. Kind of like what we were doing in the late 1800s, early 1900s, when we went from an agrarian society to a more industrialized society and an actual international shipping power, which we weren't before that. Like progress. I thought progress was good, depending on the circumstances. I didn't think it was a bad thing. And that whole term has been demonized.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know.
Also, it's really funny when you think about it, because America has been a vaguely liberal society for a very long time. So even if you're conserving, a conservative now is just a liberal from 10 years ago, right? Like I say, Trump wasn't even a conservative. Trump is a 90s Democrat. So the average person my age, in a lot of ways, like I'm 37, like the idea of what I want to conserve are liberal values, things that were very common and popular in the 90s. Yeah. So that does not make me a conservative per se, but it does mean that the idea of conservatism at that base level is something that I support, that you don't just throw away all the good you have for the sake of adding more because other people have told you.
Or that's because the line is shifted, bro. Like you stayed in one place and the line moved until you were far right somehow.
I mean, there are definitely things for me that I've changed on in terms of what I've looked at. Like I remember specifically after 2016, I really, instead of saying like, oh my God, everything's over, everything's bad, I started asking the question. I started talking to friends who are more right-leaning, and I started just doing my research, like, what is it that happened? And a lot of it is because so many people in this country, people who don't live in the coastal states, people who don't live in the big cities, they felt left behind. They felt that they were being talked down to, people in rural America and smaller cities. A lot of them never recovered from the 2008 financial crisis. Hell, some of them never recovered from what happened in 2001 in the Iraq War, and how their sons and daughters were shipped off abroad and died or came back with PTSD or horrible injuries. Even worse, so many people, they keep seeing how the system is not designed to work for them. It works for if you have money, works for if you're rich, works for if you're a big business. But if you're just a normal American, maybe you had a run of bad luck, a factory was moved out of your town, you are, pardon my French, you are fracked. And that's one of the reasons why there are a lot of people like you and me, Brett, who actually remember Trump from way back in the day, and are just like, they see this guy who was put on TV so many years saying that, hey, I'm a successful businessman, and they're just like, you know what, I want something different. He's not a politician. I want to try a change because all these other people are just complete fraudsters.
Bro, they loved him until they hated him. Yep. They loved him until he ran.
Every rap album in the 90s had a Trump reference.
Everyone loved Trump until he decided to actually gain some power, bro. Let's be real.
And even when, and sorry, just one last point. Like I'll even go back to what's now turned into ESG or DEI or whatever the frack it is now. When affirmative action was first introduced, it was because people like me, even if we were as qualified as somebody who was not like me, we couldn't even get our foot in the door. There was no consideration whatsoever. And so it was meant to even the playing field. The problem now is that DEI and ESG is used without consideration for this person's qualifications.
Yep.
And that's the problem now. Because I think that in its inception, affirmative action was done as a positive, but now it's being weaponized in the worst way. Kind of going back to kind of what we mentioned about film companies and production companies, where you have these people, they're hired because they're a woman, they're hired because they're LGBTQ, they're hired because they're a person of color, not because they have talent, not because they have any love for the IP that this production company is going to be working on. And that's one of the biggest problems.
Yep.
All right, real quick, guys. We got a super chat from John Burns for another $2.79 Canadian. Seinfeld and Lane complaining, top heavy wait staff. Yes, indeed. And we got another super chat from William Forbus for $5. It's raising money to fight guys in girls' sports. What's wrong with that? As a Christian man, it's lightly risque, not what they're making it out to be. Silly.
Well, that's the problem, is the subjectivity of what you or I might call risque is not going to be the same thing as somebody else online. And then you've got to go online and have that discourse with someone, which is why it's a very, very rough discussion to have, especially when you agree on 90% of things, but people seem to just get caught up on these very, very niche issues. Like at the end of the day, they're not talking about your taxes. They're not they're not talking about the things that actually matter. You're better off caring about who the hell is elected at your school board and your local elections than any of these governmental policies at the federal level. It's going to affect you more greatly.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we had a lot to talk about today, and we talked about it. I want to thank my expert panel of nerds for being here today. Culture Casino, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Yeah, final thoughts are this is a result of what we're living in now is the result of having all the slippery slopes already been slid down. There's number one. Number two, you had somebody speaking a very populist message talking about re-importing industry back to this country, along with a certain amount of energy independence, which we're largely abandoning right at this very moment. Yep. So there's that. So that's the only thing I needed to add to the previous discussion. Otherwise, just check out my channel, Culture Casino. In the new year, we'll be having the late night culture show Sunday night, tomorrow night, bringing in the new year. I'm very excited about that. And I hope that this year people stop being as tribalist as they have been and find a way to, find the common ground we used to find rather
in an election year.
Good luck. My friend, I can help you skip to the last page and tell you the answer. And unfortunately, it's not the one you're looking for.
Well, I know, but being as optimistic as Chris Gore is, I can only hope.
Yeah.
So,
but culture,
check out the channel. I would really appreciate it. We did make it to almost 17,000 now. We're on our way. And again, I'm going to say it one more time and embarrass Matt, Mr. Kadish, I should say. It's largely his fault that I had a surge. So thank you, Matthew, once again.
Well, Culture, your channel's been growing greatly. It couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. We're all really excited and proud of you. Yeah. If anyone hasn't checked out your channel, they definitely need to.
Yeah. And once again, thank you for having me, Mr. Kadish. You're a man among men.
Thank you. All right, Brett.
Yes.
Any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Well, first things first, I want to thank you for having me on. End of the year special means it's. I feel very honored to have been included. I also don't ascribe to the term nerd because I feel like that's actually a term that's meant for people of great knowledge and understanding of certain things. And I feel like I don't actually fit that. It would be like stolen valor for me to take that term. I still consider myself very much a normie in a lot of respects. But I would like you guys, please, if you could, to go and check out Pop Culture Crisis right here on YouTube. We will be back with new live shows in the new year. We start on the 2nd. We've had content coming out all week. We've had a new series of pop culture conspiracies. Is John Benet Ramsey and Katy Perry the same person? You tell me. I don't know. But we just passed 90,000 subscribers on YouTube. We are getting very, very close to 100,000. And I want the play button so I can saw it in half and give Mary one half and me take the other half. So if you guys could go over there and check out that channel, I think you might find a lot of stuff to enjoy.
That's so demonic, Brett.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty demonic to me, bro.
Very demonic.
And be sure to go to Pop Culture Crisis, not Pop Culture Minefield. Fuck those.
Different things. Yes, different things.
Yes.
What did you
right.
do to you?
Those guys suck.
They're terrible. All right, Charles, any final thoughts? And where can people find more of you?
Yes, this has been a great chat, super fun, great talking to all you fine gentlemen. Brett, I have to disagree with you on one point. Everyone can be a nerd about something. Doesn't have to be anything pop culture.
I can talk to you about the USA Network for 5 hours.
Exactly. You're a nerd about USA Network, and there you go. Everyone's a nerd about something. You can find me on Amazon.com, or you can go to ccekeke.com. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. You can also find me on Amazon.com, Pantheon Saga. It's an ongoing book series. There's 8 books out. 3 novellas. There's a 9th book that I'm currently writing right now. But yeah, Happy New Year, everyone. And great crowd. I love these comments, and I love the names of these comments, the names of the commenters. So super fun.
All right. And Brian from the Popcast, any final thoughts? And where can people find more of you?
Well, Happy New Year, everyone. As far as less tribalism in 2024, I don't think it's going to happen. But you know what? That's a really good thought. I think that this election year is going to be, typically as nutty and bonkers as it usually is. Final thoughts are: we should stop attacking people for nonsense that is hyper subjective to your extremely, religious worldview, and focus on the big problems that we have, because there's a lot of big problems. When Charles was talking about people that had not yet recovered from 2001, 2008, now 2018, there's a lot of people that had businesses for 20, 30 years, and in around 2010 just couldn't stay open anymore.
Yeah.
I've had a business for 20 years, and I'm like, literally, this year has wrecked me. I am like hanging on by a thread, and I'll probably make it because I'm a cockroach, but not everyone's a cockroach. Not everyone can survive the way we can. So they have to work really, really hard, and they have to get just lucky enough just to sort of hang in there. And there's a lot of people like me and like you. There's a lot less people on these little coastal cities working at some government position or for some super woke company that has they're on their round 7th of funding, and they have billions of dollars to just burn. The rest of us actually have to work for our money. That's why there is such a resurgence of people that want change. And this is not a recent phenomenon. They've wanted change since 2008 when I'll tell you the truth, I voted for Obama. And then it didn't work out.
Yeah.
So then I voted for Trump. And I'm not a Republican who's like, I'm a Republican, I only vote for Republican. I'm not a Democrat who only vote Democrat. I'm a guy who votes for issues. And I want change that is going to affect the majority of us. And whether that's Trump or whoever it is, it doesn't really matter. But bottom line is there's a large group of people, like the majority of us, that are barely hanging on from month to month. Barely. That whole idea where it's like, you're going to have 6 months of your bills in the bank here, or you're not ready to. Who has that? I haven't had that for a long, long time. So most people are in a place where, I'm sorry, $12 for a pack of eggs is too much money.
Jesus Christ.
$5.85 a gallon is too much. I can't do anything without just dropping half of what I made that week, every week. It's such a silly place to live in. And this is the cycle, because we already experienced this. It's like every 8 to 10 years, we're experiencing the same thing. So can we just get out of the cycle and actually get change into the White House? But it's not just the White House, it's also Congress. We need term limits. And these guys are never going to vote for their own term limits, because that'd be voting themselves out of a job.
Or stock or protections of them not being able to trade in stock.
No stock trading, and remove party affiliation.
And that's what you need to vote for. You need to vote for that. It doesn't matter if they have an R or a D next to their name, but you need to vote for people who are willing to make those sweeping changes so that we suffer a little less.
And when somebody demonizes actual, not just people in the other party, but people and constituents who just happen to be another affiliation. If you're only catering to your base, you have no business being in office.
None.
Period. I don't give a crap. You have no business being in office, because that is not how this country works, unless you want an authoritarian state, which I mean, we're getting
I totally agree.
So,
and that my final thoughts is basically like, we do need change, because there's a lot of people and we have smiles and we like to joke, but bro, work is hard. I have 2 jobs. I work 15 hours a day just to keep things moving. And I'm sure most of us are that way. Not all of us are independently wealthy like Ram Pumbaa Kadish. I'm kidding. A lot of us have to, most of us have to work really, really hard. So when you go to vote, please don't vote based on whatever your friend at work with a 3-year political gender studies degree told you. Like, do some research and vote for what's going to be best for you. For you. And if everyone voted for what's best for you, and the majority of us face the same problems, we'd have a better place to live. Anyways.
All right. Well, Brian, 2024.
We're not.
Why aren't you running? Why aren't you running? Why aren't you running?
Remotely capable of running for office.
I
can barely run a YouTube channel.
Trump should pick you for his running mate.
Yeah, thanks for not getting Ron Paul when we had the chance, guys.
Go check out the podcast. At the podcast, we got I put out the definitive history of Willy Wonka. No one's watching it, but it's actually a pretty phenomenal movie, especially if you're into that to the old Gene Wilder flick.
Oh, hey guys, before we go, guess who decided to show up?
Oh,
hey,
Mike is here.
I just got in the door. I'm sorry.
Dude.
I took my mom to the Marine Corps base today because my dad was a Marine and she wanted to go today before New Year's. So,
Antonio Stark.
And Brian, I heard your rant, but as I was driving into the driveway, and out here in South Carolina, we just bought eggs for $2.85 for 12 eggs. We done just filled up the SUV for $2.49 a gallon out here in South Carolina, Brian.
Why are you bragging, bro? Why are you bragging?
Well, I'm just saying, I used to be from San Jose, California, where I spent all my life, and now I'm a Southerner, and I just don't understand your liberal, commie, wickety do ways.
Well, I
want to leave, but I can't.
I was just in California, and it was like at least a solid $1 or more in terms of gas over
it's
there.
Insane, dude. The other day I pulled into a gas station and it was like $3.55 a gallon. I lost my shit. I was like, yes. I'm like filling up. I'm like, babe, get your truck over here, fill it up. I'm calling my stepmom. I'm like, Mom, get your truck, fill up. By the time my wife got there, the guy at the gas station had made a mistake and adjusted it $1 up.
No.
Yeah. But I was able to fill my truck up for
that's the important thing.
For about $65. I was, you understand, like $65 to fill up in a 2007 Jeep Commander is outstanding.
Well, listen, if anybody on the panel has to fly, happy trails. We'll see you in the next year. But I'm going to hang around now that Mike's here and chit chat with him. And if you guys want to stay, if you got time.
I gotta go. I wish I could stick around. I was already pushing it. You guys, love y'all. Bye, Mikey. Love you, dude.
Culture, love you, buddy. Happy New Year,
you guys. Happy New Year.
I will see you guys soon. If you want to have me back, just let me know.
We'll
do, bro.
Bye, guys.
Add me on Twitter or whatever.
We'll do.
All right.
Oh my God! It's two YouTuber. No, it's a YouTuber and 2 Mexicans. What a sitcom.
You mean Latinx?
Yeah, Latinx.
La Twinks.
Hey, Kadish, can I ask you a question? I'm dying to ask you a question. I need the official Las Vegas position, and I know you will know the answer to this question.
Go for it.
How much excitement is there in the Las Vegas region for my Oakland A's moving there?
Honestly, haven't heard much about it.
Damn, that's what everybody's saying.
Yeah, like, when we got the Raiders coming, that was like a big hubbub because they were building a stadium and all this other stuff. They're going to be building a stadium for the A's, but it's like in the most inconvenient spot because it's like right at the start of the strip, and it's just going to cause massive traffic issues. And so people are, and it's not really a baseball town, like it's weird because it might be a baseball town once they get here, because when we first got the hockey team, nobody in Vegas was interested in hockey. But then once we got the hockey team and people started going to games, this became a
okay,
hockey
but I got
town.
a theory on that. I got a theory on why hockey works, because when you go to watch hockey, you're walking into a freaking air-conditioned cooler. All right. Now, my question for baseball is this: with opening season on May 3rd, when it happens, if it happens, and a season that runs until September and runs mostly through June, July, and August, how many people in Vegas are going to go to an outdoor baseball game, and what's that weather like?
Well, they're probably going to build kind of like what they did with the Raiders stadium. They're going to build like a shield on top of the stadium to prevent like, you know, all that stuff from being uncomfortable. We've had a minor league team out here for a long time that people who like baseball, they go to their games. So like, it'll be hard to say like if the A's do really well, then maybe like, you know, people warm to them. But for the most part, like nobody's really been talking about it. At least,
wouldn't you guys want your own? Wouldn't you want your own team name, or do you want our rejected piece of shit AA minor league piece of shit team?
Well, we kept the Raiders name, so I mean, who knows? I am not big into the sports to begin with. Jude would be the one to ask about this.
All right. Well,
to be honest,
if the A's go to Vegas, once I get over my trauma and sadness of them leaving California, because the only thing that's left in California that I like is my family and my Oakland A's. But I hate Oakland and I hate the Bay Area, and the entire state's a sack of horse shit, and that's why I left.
Have your family moved to Vegas?
Well, I will definitely buy either a condo or a house, and I will definitely have season tickets and or a box if they build a new stadium. I'm on the list already.
Yeah, well, they are building a new stadium, but if you ever want to catch a Raiders game, just let me know. I got season tickets.
You got season tickets for the Raiders? Are you one of those guys that sells them for like $4,300 a seat?
I try, but nobody buys them. So, yeah, the football thing has kind of fallen on like flat on its face out here because COVID stepped on the big, opening of the stadium and all this other stuff, and so it lost any momentum it had, and I can't sell like 90% of my tickets because there's just not interest there.
Didn't Shane buy tickets from you once?
He did, yeah. He went and saw the what was it? The Florida team, right? The Mariners?
Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins. Yeah, that's
wow,
right.
You don't even know their name. You are really not a sports guy.
Yeah,
I'm not a sports ball person. No, I grew up with asthma, so it was. And also moved around a lot because I was an Air Force brat, so I never got into like home team type stuff.
Yeah, I'm not a sports ball person either. I like it when they kick it and they get a basket. It's really cool.
Well, Mike, you missed out on a lot of great conversation live stream today. Did you have a topic you wanted to touch on?
I just know that I don't want to hear anything about Zack Snyder. I don't want to talk about the Snyderverse. And let me think, what else do I not want to talk about? That's pretty much about it.
That's a shame because I wanted to get your opinion on Rebel Moon.
Oh, I didn't finish it. I got an hour in and I stopped. An hour and 18 minutes and I stopped.
I fell asleep twice.
Bro, it was boring as snot. And
boring.
Bro, to get me to not be excited, dude, I was a Snyder. You know, Katie.
Yeah. No, yeah. We were both
Kadish,
Snyder bros.
Brian,
we were both toxic Snyder bros.
Toxic Snyder bro here, right here. Hi.
Easily.
Hi. My name is Mike. Come on, Brian. Say hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Hi. My name is Mike, and I have come to the meeting today because I am a Snyder bro-aholic, and my life became completely and totally unmanageable due to my nonstop addiction to all things Snyder. And Snyder could do no wrong. And not only do I own Justice League and all of its various formats, I hosted multiple-hour live streams, including multiple live streams of the 4.5-hour day-long cut, as well as the black and white cut on multiple channels. Even though I call myself, I'm not a YouTuber, I went live and I did watch parties for that.
Let's be honest, though, Mike. The Snyder cut is
free. Hold on. Until Rebel Moon, I had been Snyder free for 2.5 years. So as of now, I've now been Snyder free 3 days, 4 hours in this minute.
Let's be honest, though. The Snyder cut is a masterpiece. It's such a good film.
I agree.
After all that,
I agree. Well, look, I know I had a problem. Okay, Like I just found one of my old tweets from 2020 where I was inviting everyone in my thread and I posted it on Facebook because there's a bunch. I don't know if you guys know this. There's a bunch of Facebook Snyder bro groups.
Is it really?
Yeah. Well, you obviously weren't in one, but anyway, I found an old one from early 2020 where I was inviting everybody to get up with me at 8 a.m. Pacific time on a Sunday and do a watch party so we could talk to Zach live from his movie viewing cinema.
That's awesome.
Yeah, at 8 a.m. on a Sunday. That's how addicted I was, Kadish.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys, now that the Snyderverse is officially over and we're moving into James Gunn-verse territory, what are your predictions and outlooks for the DC universe going forward?
Who goes first?
Well, I'll just start because I'm probably shorter. I think the worst thing that James Gunn could have done was make that announcement about the upcoming slate in January 2023 when there were 3 movies left in the year. I don't know, for the love of God, why he didn't wait a year. It would have made no difference if he announced that 3 weeks from now. But he had to do it in January of 2023, which let the whole world know that the rest of the movies this year had no bearing on the universe. And then you're like, I wonder why they're not doing well. What? Okay, I'm going to stop because I've gone down this road a million times. I just don't understand. And I love James Gunn, why he couldn't just wait until this year when they're all done. Wait until I got gung-ho. I'm not sure what the deal was. He makes poor decisions on social media. He's a great creative director. He's a great creative creator, but he makes really poor decisions on social media. He needs to stay off of Twitter or Instagram or Threads or whatever he's on. Stop talking. Stop giving the fans so much access to the head of DC Studios. You need to slow down with giving them. You promise things and then they don't happen, and you have all these critics that are just losing their mind. Well, you said stop communicating so much. I like communication, but take it down a notch. Don't talk to every single person that asks, is Superman wearing his red underwear? Why do they even need to know that right now? Just stop. Stop. Please stop. He needs a publicist. That's what I'll end it there.
Mike?
When it was announced, when James Gunn announced that, when James Gunn let the world be known that Henry Cavill was out, I was pretty much done with James Gunn then. And then when he announced what the slate would be, I was doubly done with James Gunn. If I wasn't already done with him, when he told me The Flash was going to be the best DC movie ever in the history of ever, which, by the way, I didn't hate The Flash, but it is no way in of a stretch the bestest DC movie ever. Okay.
No, I didn't hate The Flash either. I actually like The Flash.
Well, I didn't say I liked it. I'll say I'm neutral on The Flash, but I didn't hate it. I'm just saying I'm neutral. Yeah. I don't know. Look. I probably would have enjoyed it more.
The best ever.
I would have enjoyed it more if all of a sudden me being a dad didn't see a bunch of babies like getting microwaved in the first 5-10 minutes. Okay, I'm just saying.
I didn't mind that as much as everyone else did.
Well,
I cared more about the CGI was pretty rough.
Because I'm a Southerner now, Mr. Brian. We don't like no microwaving of no babies out here in the South.
I hated that the end screen was Aquaman face down in the street in the gutter. I was like, this is so pathetic. It's like that's what I hated the most about the movie. That and the CGI.
So James Gunn, look, it's very simple. Here's what we need. What we need is a great Superman movie that's going to unite the world, the country, from Australia to New Zealand, all the way back to the USA, Canada, and across Europe. We need truth, justice, the American way. We need that 90s. We need that score. We need something that will unite us and a hero that we can get behind. I don't need to see the dark side of whatever the heck or some alternative universe. So help me God, if the Supergirl comes out punk rock with cut hair and shaved on one side and flipping over on the other and tattoos. Look,
yeah, with the undercut. No, I don't want to see it.
And look, I enjoy. Look, I like Suicide and Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad. I like them both. Shoot me, okay? Shoot me. I like them both.
I like the second one.
All right. Well, I like them.
I don't know why they had to be called the same exact thing, though. Jesus.
Right. Well, that's because DC is the worst studio. Warner Brothers and DC are the worst managed morons ever in the history of
so
ever.
Stupid.
Right. They're like, how do you think? All right. Anyway, let me go back. So look, I like the Suicide Squad. I like Suicide Squad. Hell, I even love Peacemaker. All right. I get what James Gunn does. Guardians of the Galaxy, had no idea who the heck any of these characters were, and he made me like kind of like them, kind of sort of, but I didn't like the last movie. But James Gunn needs to play to win and not playing not to lose. And working with obscure weirdo characters is playing not to lose. You got to play to win. And to play to win, we need a Superman that is a hero for our times that will help us fix this planet, because we have gotten a hell in a handbasket. Hell in a handbasket, as we say here in the Carolinas.
Wow, you're really leaning into that Southerner thing, aren't you, Mike?
Yep, I am no longer a Californian. Nope.
Yeah, I think it's 2 days from now, every illegal immigrant in California gets free health care. Is that
I wouldn't know that because we don't approve of them policies here.
Is that true? Is that true? Because I am paying so much for health care.
Brian, good job.
Do you not pay attention to your governor, Brian?
Brian, good. I just want to thank out here in South Carolina, we want to thank Californians like Brian for working hard and overpaying in gas and on eggs so that they can go ahead and do whatever policies they want for people that won't come to South Carolina.
Mike, did you see that news story that's making its way around Twix about how the Biden administration is talking about how they're going to take Texas to court for like arresting and deporting illegal immigrants?
Yep.
What do you what's your take on that?
I think it's horse crap. I think it's horse beep. Beep. Dude, let me tell you something. Let me say this. Okay, now I'm sure, I don't know if I got any family members of mine listening. I sent the link out on my family text group. But my family backed me up, and my family is all over New Mexico and Texas. And let me tell you this, we are pissed off because going back 2-3 generations, those members of my family that did immigrate here did it the right way, actually studied and took a test. Hello? You know, there used to be a right way to immigrate that didn't involve, walking across the border with God knows whatever criminal background you may or may not have, and actually like prove to, pledge the elite. I want to know how many of these Biden walk-ons are like know the Pledge of Allegiance.
Well, it's funny. I saw a post on
simple Pledge of Allegiance, right?
I saw a post on Twix today where a guy said like he helped his wife immigrate legally to the United States from Europe, cost him $10,000, and he said if we had just flown to Mexico and crossed the border legally, she'd have gotten over $2,000 in free money, a free plane ticket to wherever she wanted to go, and free healthcare. And he was like, we would have ended up making money as opposed to spending $10,000 to do it the right way.
Yep, and everybody knew for a long time that that's what it cost. It cost everybody anywhere from $7,000 to $20,000, more or less. Everybody's known that for like decades. And this thing going on right here is absolute travesty, and this country is going to hell in a handbasket. I'm going to start a new party called, it's not MAGA. It's going to be called MAMA. Make America Less Migrant Again. Okay? MAMA, the Mama Party. And any women, I put out the call. Attention, ladies.
The women.
As a volunteer in my new political party, you will be known as a mamacita.
I like that.
Help make America less migrant again.
We got a super chat from William Forbus for $5.
Hey,
Mike,
William.
Wow. I am a Snyder fan. I think he started believing his own ego and thought he was something he never was and been making bad movies for a while now.
I agree.
I wanted to.
Something happened though, because I used to like most of Snyder's movies. He does feel. I think he thinks he's just like Jesus of filmmaking now.
Yeah.
Rebel Moon was really not a good movie.
And I'm going to say, and if you look at his interviews over the years, which not a lot of them make sense, but if you just look at like from way back in the day to his more recent stuff, he has a very different demeanor. It's almost like Hollywood got to him somehow. Like he thinks it's almost like he's that varsity quarterback that, that's kind of like, so full of himself, just.
Right. Yeah. He's wearing his own Letterman jacket.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's sad. It's sad.
Well,
I don't know what makes me worse: the bad movies that he makes, or the fact that I was like completely and totally a Snyder bro ho. Because I was, and I know I was, and
yeah, you were.
I said some mean things to a lot of people.
You were a straight Snyder bro hoe.
Yeah.
A snow, if you will.
A snow.
So, Mike, you weren't here when I talked about it, but I've been kind of obsessing over Rebel Moon lately. I don't think it's a good movie. It's insanely flawed, but I feel like there's so much potential there that I hate that it wasn't done right. And there's been this news story about how like this isn't even the real Rebel Moon that we're supposed to be getting, because Snyder had a completely different vision, and he's doing a Snyder cut of Rebel
always
Moon
says that. He always
that
says that.
he says is like a completely different movie. It has almost no bearing on what we just saw. This one he made for Netflix because they wanted a family-friendly version of his movie that they could put out over the holidays. But the next version of this that we're going to get is going to be his pure vision. So I wanted to ask you, like, do you think that the Snyder cut of Rebel Moon is going to be better than what we got?
Well, I will probably end up watching it because since I relapsed, I might as well relapse full blown and hard when the other version comes out. If I'm going to relapse, I might as well go, relapse hard again. Here's the thing: I heard that news before. I didn't watch Rebel Moon until when did I watch it? Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday afternoon. That's when I watched it and fell asleep. So here's the problem I had with it, Kadish, and I don't know. I'd be interested to know if you agree with what I'm about to say. So I felt that I was in an editing room watching a cut of a movie that, because as it was going by, I was like, well, why is that there? Or how come I felt like I was watching dailies. If you're, you're a movie maker. I mean, for God's sake, you know what I'm talking about. Like I felt I was in, of course I'm in my living room, but I felt like I was in an editing bay watching something that was like kind of various clips, and I was asking questions. So finally, after about an hour, 20 minutes, I just said, you know what, screw this, I'm out. And in the back of my head, I know there's another version coming out, and I probably in the back of my head told myself, I'll just watch it when that comes out, and then I'll judge it then. I think that's what I did. I don't know. I felt like I was in an editing bay, and I got tired of it.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of problems with the movie, but I feel like there are kernels in there that could be really amazing. Like it could be the like the new sci-fi franchise that everyone rallies around if it was ever done right, And the reason I keep thinking about it, keeps sticking with me, is because like I keep redoing the movie in my head and trying to fix it, and there's just so many things wrong with the movie that drive me up the wall. Like the whole, like it's a ripoff of Seven Samurai, like full stop. But I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, the fact that they're going around recruiting a small band to fight like a military that could nuke them from orbit doesn't make any sense to me. Like they should have gone straight to the rebels who have like air support and stuff like that. And like it doesn't make any sense, their strategy on how to fight the bad guys, right? Like I don't know how Snyder can't look at his story and be like, these are problems that I need to address or fix before I make this movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what? I thought of an interesting, when I was watching the Snyder stuff, I thought of an interesting example. Like, do you remember, I got a 10, 15, 20 years ago? When did the live remake happen for Battleship Yamato? Wasn't that like 2000?
I don't know.
5 or 10? Well, anyways, they have the super weapon, but they take the time ahead of the time of when they really need the weapon to like basically describe that the weapon has been jammed. And so that when it comes time to use the weapon, they can't use it because it's jammed, when the easiest thing to do would be to fire the weapon and solve all the problems. And there's just, that movie, that live adaptation of that anime takes the time to make sure there's various little key elements that do that. But in Rebel Moon, it's just free flowing, go with the flow is what I felt. There was no connect. Look, I can't say it didn't look good and interesting. It did. But I've been engaged in storytelling with things on screen that only went an hour and a half and cost a hell of a lot less than this must have.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah. And I feel like it should have been a mini series. Like they should have had like episodes where it was like 6-hour-long episodes to let him tell this story. So like every episode could have been recruiting a new guy until they get to like the finale. And even then it's like half a movie, right? And at the midpoint of your movie, you're supposed to have the bad guys win. It's supposed to be some type of like twist where like the good guys are up against the rope, and that makes going into the, you know, the third act climax like more tense, right? So like there's just so much wrong with this film, and just the fact that it feels like half a film, right? Like it doesn't feel like a full story, especially the way they ended it. And I'm interested to see like what the Snyder Cut's going to change about this movie, because Zack Snyder does not know how to, you know, write a tightly constructed narrative, right? So like he just kind of indulges himself left and right. So like I'd like to see like how indulging be and still make like something that, you know, might rival like the Justice League cut, right?
Well, I don't think he's capable of it. I think this is a guy that if given too much money, he acts like a chick at the mall with a credit card.
The ending of that was like so confusing. I was like, wait, what? Like I thought that like there was more. Like it literally ended like it was an episode of television, and like we're gonna watch the next episode next. It was frustrating.
And also having the robot with like the antler crown and like the spear, and I was like, what happened with this guy? Like, and do you remember that soldier that you know, fought against his comrades and then like disappeared for the rest of the movie? It's like, what was the point of him?
No,
right?
No point.
It's just there's so many loose threads here, and I feel like Snyder cut those out specifically so that, you know, he would have them in his like director's cut. But still, like,
you know, but that's the problem, is that if he's thinking like, then you're gonna go and watch it like, oh, that's why this happens and that's why that happens. I mean, we just had this problem in Monarch.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm 2 episodes behind on Monarch.
Well, yeah. Okay. So Monarch, what I was expecting to get in Monarch isn't what we got. What we end up getting is we end up watching along and trying to say, okay, why are they doing this? Oh, they're doing this because of this, because of that, because it's an entire show written like through the seams of like anything that they've already put out, and it doesn't really add a lot of value, and it's so very disappointing. I'm very pissed off about Monarch because this was like my series of the year, so I'm very annoyed.
Yeah, it started off strong and then steadily.
It's on my worst 5 of the year list.
William Forbus for $5. Y'all have a good one. Rebel Moon felt like an okay trailer. Glad to see y'all. Mike, happy you made it, man. Happy New Year, everyone. Peace out. Thanks for being here with us today, Forbus. Really appreciate you, and we'll see you again in 2024.
Later, brother.
I do want to give a shout out to everyone who gave us some super chats during live streams. Shane H. Wilder, The Joker's Voice, Eric Winberg, Cyberhunk 2069, No Money G, Bob Dorsey, Lover of Green, R to the Icky, John Burns, Magnus Toth, Shorty Short, Fluffy Panda. I think I've said John Burns already. William Forbus, thank you so much for all your support, guys. Really means a lot, especially like you kind of saw Matt Vader, pop out of here early because he has to go to work. All this stuff helps get us closer to our goal of bringing Vader on full time so that he can do what he loves instead of working at a job that he absolutely hates. And also, we got a $2 super chat from Latino Slant, Mexican Snyder Bro. Yes. So thank you for that one, Paul.
In recovery, that would be Mexican Snyder Bro in recovery. Thank you.
And Mexican Iron Man has gifted 5 Salty Nerd podcast memberships. That's very generous of you, Mike. Thank you for doing that. Really appreciate it. All right, guys. So, Mike, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
I go where I'm invited, and but most of the time my home base is Midnight Edge After Dark. And hey, I just want to tell you in person, I left your video on Twitter, but I don't know if you saw it, but I just want to tell you, Kadish, you, Brian, and I'll tell Vader, who's listening, everybody that's a regular on this cast. Hey, I was here when this show first got started. I was back when we barely had anybody in the live chat, like way back when you had, and long before you had these superstar donors that you have. And I just want to thank you guys as a fan for an amazing show. I look forward to my Saturdays at 1 o'clock, and wherever I've been at, I always catch the replay. And if I'm not sitting at my desk live, I'm always listening to the show from somewhere, even if I got to travel. And I just want to thank you as a member of the channel and as a fan of the Saturday show, Brian. You and Matt and the rest of the team do a fantastic job, and all the guests that you guys have had. I really enjoy it, and it's I look forward to the day when you'll regularly have 500 or 1,000 people in this watching you in the stream.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, we got big plans for 2024. We're going to be doing a lot more live streams and a lot more community engagement and all types of fun stuff. And yeah, it's all about the community, man. Like we love everyone who shows up for our live streams and participates in chat and does stuff. And we're going to try to be more interactive going into 2024. I want to thank everyone for being here today. Tune in next week, same salty time, same salty channel. And as always, stay salty, my friends.